Chapter 171. Come, let's go take a look. Yi Hao hadn't had the chance to play since he came to this world. He had to try something so interesting. In his previous life, he was poor and didn't dare to try many things because he didn't have the money. Now he had tens of millions on him. Moreover, Yi Hao wasn't wasting money. Instead, Yi Hao wanted to know if his appraisal skill would be useful for beast appraising. If appraisal skill was really useful for beast appraising, then he would be rich. He had a country behind him. Whether he gave the magical beast to the army or sold them for money, it would be of great help to Yanlong. Stop! No one is allowed to ride a horse into the city. The guard at the city gate stopped him. Didn't someone ride a magical beast into the city just now? Yi Hao looked displeased. If no one was allowed to ride a horse, Yi Hao wouldn't say anything. However, he clearly saw that everyone was riding a horse into the city. Why did they stop him? What made Yi Hao speechless was that Xie Chunyu rode a blood wolf and swaggered into the city gate. The guards acted as if they didn't see her. I told you to get off the horse, so get off quickly. What's there to be arrogant about riding a rank 1 spiritual beast? The guard said firmly. At the same time, he looked at the guard behind Yi Hao with disdain. When Yi Hao looked back, he immediately understood what was going on. The reason being that the mounts of the martial emperor cavalry were ordinary horses, and most importantly, Yi Hao had asked them to conceal their cultivation, thus causing the guards to look down on them. I'm going in on a horse today. Yi Hao wasn't going to let him have his way. How dare a small guard try to bully him? A cold smile appeared on the city guard's face. It seemed that Yi Hao's actions were exactly what he wanted. In his eyes, Yi Hao was just a country bumpkin with low strength. Each of them only had the strength of a martial artist, but their clothes were of good quality. The guard knew that the more he thought about these young masters, the more he would benefit from them. Most importantly, they were the easiest to bully. Men, arrest these people for me. They still dare to cause trouble here. The guard shouted, and the rest of the guards immediately rushed up. At the same time, many people passed by the city gate, but they were not surprised. These guards usually spent a lot of money, so it was only right and proper for them to bully these low-level rich people. Get out of my way. Yi Hao was slightly angered. He waved the horsewhip in his hand, and a blast of energy hit the guard's body. The powerful force instantly tore apart the guard's level 1 spirit armor. The guard flew out and smashed heavily onto the city wall. He was deader than dead. Ding dong. Thank you, host, for killing Wu Ho's rank 3 bodyguard. Host received 300 experience points and 1,500 soul points. Yi Hao only got 300 experience points for killing a martial marquis soldier. 10,000 alpacas galloped in Yi Hao's heart. Currently, he was a martial king, so to upgrade to the second order martial king, he needed more than 100,000 experience points. In other words, he had to kill more than 300 third order martial marquis soldiers before he could upgrade by 1 level. Seeing Yi Hao attack, the martial king knight no longer hid his strength. He immediately exposed his aura and killed the few soldiers who rushed up. These people are actually martial kings. They hid their strength well. They have 7 martial kings as guards, and this young man is also a martial king. His background must not be weak. Now, there's a good show to watch. These greedy guards are going to be unlucky. When the surrounding people saw Yi Hao kill a guard with a whip, they stopped and started to discuss. Stop! Who dares to be impudent in Beast King City? Suddenly, a middle-aged man who looked like a general galloped over on a level 4 spirit beast. Brat, you dare to kill my Beast King City soldiers? You're courting death. Gua Ingrue arrived at the city gate and saw 6 or 7 dead soldiers. He was furious. Holding a long sword, he rushed towards Yi Hao, because these guards were his Gua family's people. It's General Gua. General Gua is a level 5 martial king. His mount is also a level 1 martial king. These people are going to be unlucky. This brat is only a level 1 martial king. He doesn't even have a magic beast. He will lose without a doubt. The surrounding people thought that Yi Hao could teach these soldiers a lesson. No one expected Gua Ingrue to suddenly appear. Once again, they were not optimistic about Yi Hao. After all, a difference of 1 level was like heaven and earth, not to mention a difference of 4 levels. Furthermore, Gua Ingrue had a magic beast to help him. The difference between the two was even greater. Protect the young master. Several martial king knights were anxious and quickly urged their horses forward. Roar! Ingrue's magic beast roared, scaring the horses of the knights. Their legs trembled and they did not dare to move forward. Ha! Look at their ordinary horses. They are so scared. The trembling of the horses naturally attracted the ridicule of everyone. The martial king knights were anxious. They immediately cursed at their horses. Trash! Brothers, abandon your horses. Not only are horses trash, you are the same. Gua Ingrue said disdainfully when he saw the 7 people surrounding him. In an instant, 2 martial kings were sent flying by Gua Ingrue. Good, General Gua is mighty. The remaining guards shouted loudly when they saw Gua Ingrue display his might. Yi Hao's fighting spirit and anger surged in his heart. All of you retreat. Although the martial kings were unwilling, they knew that they were not Gua Ingrue's match. They could only retreat. Brat, not bad. You didn't run away. Lan Bao go. Gua Ingrue did not chase after the martial kings who retreated. Instead, he looked at Yi Hao with interest. He suddenly jumped off his magic beast and issued an order to his magic beast. Gua Ingrue's magic beast was a rank 4, level 3 blue leopard. When it heard Gua Ingrue's order, the blue leopard drooled and quickly pounced on Yi Hao. The leopard's speed was already very fast. Its speed was comparable to a rank 4, level 5 magic beast. It was like a bolt of blue lightning, making it impossible to see its figure clearly. Gua Ingrue was full of confidence in his magic beast. No less than 4 or 5 beginner martial kings had died under the leopard's claws. He cupped his fists and quietly watched from the side. Hiss! Yi Hao's clothes were instantly torn by the blue leopard's claws. If not for the Bloodscar armor, Yi Hao would definitely have been injured. Although he had the Bloodscar armor, Yi Hao still took a few steps back. What fast speed! As expected of a leopard. Butterfly shadow steps. If he used his own speed, he could only fight the blue leopard to a draw. However, after using the butterfly shadow steps, the leopard's speed was simply too slow in his eyes. Rank 4 spiritual weapon. Gua Ingrue's eyes revealed a greedy look. To be able to block the leopard's attack and only have his clothes torn, other than a rank 4 spiritual weapon, he could not think of anything else. This spiritual weapon is mine. Even though he knew that Yi Hao had a rank 4 spiritual weapon, Gua Ingrue did not plan to make a move. He was full of confidence in the leopard's speed. Chapter 172. Die, evil creature. Yi Hao snorted coldly as the long saber in his hand tore through Lan Bao's body. Ding dong, congratulations to host for killing a rank 4, rank 3 magical beast. Reward, 3,000 experience points. Reward, 15,000 soul points. As Yi Hao's speed was too fast, in the eyes of the onlookers, it was as if Lan Bao had slammed into Yi Hao's long saber. Is Lan Bao stupid? Why is he slamming himself into the saber? The scene of Yi Hao being torn apart by Lan Bao did not happen. Instead, Lan Bao was easily killed by Yi Hao. No one dared to believe it. Brat, I'm going to tear you to shreds. Gua Ingrue could no longer maintain his composure. This Lan Bao was equivalent to his lifeblood. Now that Lan Bao was killed, it naturally caused him to be incomparably furious. He immediately pulled out his Tier 3 spirit weapon and was about to kill Yi Hao. Seizing life 70 stop. Just as Yi Hao was about to use his martial skill, an old man suddenly rushed out of the city. Peak of Martial King. Yi Hao's heart tightened as he glanced at the old man. It's City Lord's song. Many people saw the old man and immediately knew his identity. The old man was the City Lord of Beast King City. He was usually amiable, but his battle strength was extremely terrifying. He was considered the #1 expert in Beast King City. However, the old man was from the Song family, while Gua Ingrue was from the Gua family. The two families had their own duties, but they were not on good terms. Gua Ingrue's eyes flashed with dissatisfaction when he saw City Lord Song blocking his way. However, he was afraid of City Lord Song's strength and could only reluctantly stop. He asked in a displeased tone, May I know what City Lord Song is doing here? General Gua, you're already an adult. Why lower yourself to the level of a child? City Lord Song was not angry and asked with a chuckle. Originally, the crowd thought that City Lord Song would attack Yi Hao. No one expected City Lord Song to stand on Yi Hao's side. The crowd looked at Yi Hao suspiciously. Could it be that this young man has some powerful background? Even City Lord Song is afraid of him? Yi Hao was also puzzled. He had been prepared to fight a bloody battle. After all, it would be difficult for him to fight a peak martial king. However, it seemed that this old man, whom he had never seen before, was not his enemy. Guo Rui was instantly enraged. He shouted, "Child? He killed my magical beast, so I must kill him today. The beast appraisal competition is in the next few days. General Gua, I think we should just let this matter rest." City Lord Song said with a flushed face. It was as though there wasn't a single trace of anger on his face. Others might not be able to sense it, but Guo Rui could. His eyes flashed with a thick killing intent. However, he was not a match for City Lord Song, so he could only force out a smile. In that case, City Lord Song, what should I do now that my demonic beast has been killed? City Lord Song looked troubled. He knew that he couldn't be too biased towards Yi Hao. After thinking for a while, he said, "As long as you don't make a move before the competition, I won't care about anything else. Brat, just you wait. I will kill you." Guo Rui turned around and walked towards the city angrily. Deep down, he coveted Yi Hao's spiritual weapon, but he couldn't understand why City Lord Song was so biased towards Yi Hao. Now that he had City Lord Song's help, there was almost no chance for him to go against Yi Hao and snatch Yi Hao's spiritual weapon. However, once the competition was over, he would like to see how City Lord Song could stop him. "Thank you, City Lord Song." Although Yi Hao didn't know why City Lord Song was helping him, he still thanked him politely. "Little brother, you're welcome. If you have the chance, come visit my City Lord Manor." City Lord Song gave him a fist salute and left with a smile. "You guys clean up the leopard. Tonight's dinner is settled. A Class 4 magical beast should taste pretty good." Yi Hao shook his head. He had originally thought that City Lord Song must have some business with him since he had taken action for him. However, City Lord Song didn't even speak to him. As for visiting the City Lord Manor, Yi Hao didn't even think about it. He was only interested in beast appraising. As for Guo Rui finding trouble with him again, he would just kill him directly. The meat and blood of magical beasts were great nourishment for warriors. Yi Hao didn't enter the city. Instead, he started barbecuing at the city gate. Ugh, this kid is too arrogant. What kind of background does he have? He killed General Gua's magical beast and didn't even let it go. He's actually barbecuing it. The surrounding people couldn't believe their eyes. They watched as Yi Hao's subordinates skillfully cleaned up the magical beast and handed it to Yi Hao. Yi Hao then started barbecuing it. Guo Rui was in the city when he suddenly remembered his magical beast's corpse. Even if the magical beast was dead, a rank 4 magical beast corpse was still quite valuable. Just as he was about to order his subordinates to bring the blue leopard's corpse back to his manor, he heard his subordinates report. "What? This is infuriating. How dare he provoke me in public?" When Guo Rui heard that Yi Hao had actually barbecued his magical beast at the city gate, he was instantly enraged and almost fainted from anger. "General, what should we do now?" A guard quickly went forward to support Guo Rui and asked carefully. Guo Rui calmed the anger in his heart. "Send a few people to keep an eye on that kid. Don't let him escape." Just as the guard left, another servant came and reported, "General, Master wants you to return." After Yi Hao finished barbecuing, he ignored the surrounding crowd and started eating. Yi Hao took a bite and couldn't help but praise from the bottom of his heart. This rank 4 magical beast's meat was much more fragrant than the ordinary magical beast meat he had eaten. As Yi Hao ate the magical beast, he could clearly feel that his body was changing a little. Although it couldn't be compared to eating dragon meat, it could strengthen his physique. Even a little bit was good. Yi Hao had asked the weapon spirit of Dragon Prison Lake and a few Martial King Knights. He discovered that when ordinary people ate magical beast meat, they didn't have such a feeling. If ordinary people wanted to strengthen their physique, They would either train or eat elixirs. Elixirs made from magical beast blood essence were much more effective than elixirs of the same level. Therefore, every time Yi Hao ate a magical beast blood essence, he would collect it in case he needed it in the future. However, there was one thing that Yi Hao could clearly feel. When others ate magical beast meat, they couldn't feel their physique strengthening. Yi Hao guessed that this was the effect of the innate sacred martial spirit. Great! You guys are secretly eating barbecued meat here without me. Xie Qinyu was carrying a purple umbrella and squeezed into the crowd. She sniffed her cute nose and said, "Other than you, no one else can make the meat so fragrant." Yi Hao was about to speak when he saw a beautiful girl behind Xie Qinyu. "This is..." Song Feifei blinked her long eyelashes and looked at the barbecued meat in Yi Hao's hand. She said playfully, "Hello, I'm Song Feifei." When she smiled, she looked like a blooming flower. Yi Hao was stunned. Chapter 173. Greetings, Father. Gua Yingrui returned to the mansion and bowed respectfully to the old man sitting on the throne. The old man smiled and looked at Gua Yingrui. "What's wrong? Why is the great general of the Beast King's city so angry? Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed? What did I teach you? You have to learn not to show your emotions." "Father's right." Gua Yingrui bowed again and forced a smile on his face. "Tell me about it." The old man took a sip of tea and asked softly, "Father, my Lan Bao." Gua Yingrui looked at the old man in fear and didn't dare to speak. The Gua family had spent a lot of money to get this Lan Bao. Back then, his father had used some means to get this Lan Bao. It was because of this Lan Bao that his position as the great general of the Beast King city was firmly secured. "What's wrong with Lan Bao? He's sick. Why aren't you sending him for treatment?" The old man raised his eyes slightly. Gua Yingrui's expression became even worse, but he still said, "Father, Lan Bao was killed." Pa, the teacup in the old man's hand fell to the ground and shattered. The old man looked at Gua Yingrui in shock. "What did you say?" "Father, your son is incompetent. Lan Bao was killed." Gua Yingrui quickly knelt on the ground. He was still very afraid of the old man in his heart. "Please punish me, Father." The servant girl beside him immediately cleaned up the broken teacup. The old man also returned to normal. Who did it? Was it old man's Song? No, it was a young boy. Because he killed our family soldiers, I asked Lan Bao to teach him a lesson. Who knew that Lan Bao would be killed? Just as I was about to kill that boy, old man Song appeared. Gua Yingrui's face was filled with unwillingness. When he thought of Yi Hao roasting his Lan Bao at the city gate, his heart began to bleed. Pa, a loud slap sounded on Gua Yingrui's face. Gua Yingrui knew that it was his father who did it, and quickly lowered his head. "Do you know why I hit you?" The old man asked faintly. It's my fault for not protecting Lan Bao." Gua Yingrui quickly said. "Pa, idiot." The old man slapped Gua Yingrui again and scolded him angrily. The old man looked at Gua Yingrui, who was kneeling on the ground. His eyes were filled with disappointment. "So what if the blue leopard is dead? No matter how high the level of a magical beast is, it is only our tool. If it dies, then it dies. Father is worried about your life." Seeing that Gua Yingrui was still puzzled, the old man asked again, "Between you and Lan Bao, whose combat strength is stronger? If I don't talk about speed, your son is slightly better." But Gua Yingrui looked at the old man in shock. "Father, you're saying that the bastard is stronger than me." Gua Yingrui hurriedly recalled the moment Lan Bao died. The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. At first, he also thought that Yi Hao was a blind cat running into a dead mouse, and that Lan Bao accidentally bumped into Yi Hao's blade. But how could there be such a thing in the world? And based on his understanding of Lan Bao, it was almost impossible. There was only one possibility. Yi Hao's speed was faster than Lan Bao, so fast that even he couldn't see it. No wonder that brat dares to be so arrogant. Gua Yingrui thought about how Yi Hao was roasting his Lan Bao at the city gate. This proved his guess even more. "Father, your son is not satisfied. Please take action." Thinking about Lan Bao's death, Gua Yingrui couldn't take it lying down. The brat must have some kind of martial technique that increases his speed. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to be so fast. Guoying Rue was absolutely certain that he wasn't mistaken about Yi Hao's aura. When the old man heard Guoying Rue's words, he was also tempted. What's that brat's level? First level Martial King. Guoying Rue answered honestly. A look of greed appeared on the old man's face. Even you can't see the speed of a first-level Martial King. I'm also envious of that martial technique. Guoying Rue knew that his plan to deal with Yi Hao on his own was definitely not going to work. He could only pin his hopes on his father. After all, if his father benefited, he would benefit as well. Guoying Rue didn't hide the fact that Yi Hao had a rank 4 spiritual weapon on him. He quickly told the old man about it. Although our Guo family has a set of rank 4 spiritual weapons as well, who would complain about having too many good things? The old man wanted to kill Yi Hao. Moreover, even if Yi Hao didn't have any treasures on him, he would still have to take action. His son was a general of Beast King City. Now that even his demonic beast had been killed, if he didn't do something about it, where would the Guo family put their face? But with City Lord Song standing in the way, he was still a little wary. How about this? Since that brat came to our Beast King City, he must be interested in beast appraising. Send someone to invite him to the beast appraisal competition. If he doesn't agree, it means that he's not giving me face. When the time comes, it'll be easier for me to take action. Narrowing his eyes, the old man quickly came up with a reason. Whether Yi Hao participated in the beast appraisal competition or not, the Guo family would be able to regain their dignity. If Yi Hao didn't participate, then he would directly kill Yi Hao. If an outsider didn't give him face, that was the same as slapping the Beast King City in the face. He believed that City Lord Song wouldn't stop him. Moreover, if Yi Hao participated in the beast appraisal competition, it would be even better. Those who could participate in the beast appraisal competition were all accomplished individuals. What could a young brat like Yi Hao appraise? He would only embarrass himself. But father, the champion of the beast appraisal competition, can get him into the Beast King sect. If that brat takes this spot, wouldn't we suffer a huge loss? Guoying Rue asked worriedly. The old man chuckled. Do you think it's that easy to get first place in beast appraisal? Forget about the beast appraisers. Our family is focusing on nurturing this time. Just those random beast appraisers are enough to crush that brat. Guoying Rue was slightly relieved this time. At the thought of the Beast King sect spot, Guoying Rue quickly asked, Father, how are our family's preparation for the beast appraisal competition coming along? Don't worry. The best one is able to appraise 50% out of 100 living eggs. The remaining ones are at least 30%. The old man smiled in relief. Guoying Rue was shocked and in disbelief. How is that possible? If it's that high, doesn't that mean we're sure to win? 80% of magical beast eggs were dead. This was only to console those who were obsessed with beast appraising. If a person could pick out one living egg from 10 magical beast eggs, that person would be considered lucky and wouldn't be at a disadvantage. To be able to appraise 2 out of 10 eggs, that person must be an experienced beast appraiser other than being lucky. To be able to achieve 30%, that person was basically a master. 40% meant that the person was an elite among masters. And 50% meant that out of 2 eggs, one of them would be a living egg. What a terrifying probability this was. One could only imagine how amazing that person was. Chapter 174. Father, doesn't that mean we'll win for sure? The excitement on Guoying Rue's face was self-evident. He had been waiting for this day for far too long. Unfortunately, he didn't have any talent in beast appraising. Joining the Thousand Beasts sect was something he had always dreamed of. Fortunately, the disciples of the clan were also very eager to join the Thousand Beasts sect. Therefore, the disciples of the clan were very hardworking. Usually, it was harder than ascending to heaven for others to enter the Thousand Beasts sect. This year, for some reason, the Thousand Beasts sect suddenly gave Beast King City a slot. As long as they won first place in the beast appraisal competition, they would immediately become an outer disciple of the Thousand Beasts sect. This year's beast appraisal competition was exceptionally grand. After all, everyone wanted to join the Thousand Beasts sect. A family's foundation couldn't be compared to a sect's. A sect wasn't much weaker than a country. Some even held the fate of several countries in their hands. By the way, Father, why did you call me here? Concealing the excitement in his heart, Gua Ingrue asked in puzzlement. The old man's face tensed up. An ancient ruin is about to open. An ancient ruin? Where is it? Gua Ingrue asked nervously and excitedly. An ancient ruin was a treasure trove left behind by an ancient powerhouse. The treasures inside could definitely make a family soar. After the beast appraisal competition, but according to the records, that ruin can only be entered by those under the age of 20. The old man's face darkened. More importantly, this ruin has appeared several times, but no one has obtained it. Many major forces have also received news of it. That's not good news for us. Gua Ingrue's face tensed up. Suddenly, realization dawned on him. I was wondering why that old thing would save that kid. Looks like he had made up his mind to let that kid protect his family while he went himself. In his eyes, Yihao definitely wasn't 20 yet. He was also a martial king, much stronger than the Gua family's younger generation. The beast appraisal competition is the most important thing. Although the chances of entering an ancient ruin are slim, it's still better to pick a few decent disciples. When the time comes, they'll have to rely on the disciples of large factions to enter together. Whether or not they'll be able to reap any benefits will all depend on luck. The old man didn't place his hopes on the ancient ruin. This was because he knew that the youngest disciple in his family was only a first-level martial king. His chances of competing with those big forces were too slim. The benefits of joining the Thousand Beasts sect were real, and he was basically in control of it. At night, Yihao rejected Song Shanshan's request. Instead, he led his subordinates to look for a restaurant. After all, he had only met Song Shanshan once. If he went to stay at someone else's house, Yihao felt that it was inappropriate. Moreover, Yihao guessed that Song Shanshan was City Lord Song's family. Yihao admitted that he did not have that much charisma when City Lord Song came to help him for no reason. The 10,000 Kingdoms continent was a world of cannibalism. Who would offend someone for an outsider they did not know? Hence, if Yihao could avoid having anything to do with City Lord Song, he would try his best to do so. I'm sorry, our restaurant is full. After asking 4 or 5 restaurants in a row, all the guest rooms were full. Damn, don't tell me we're going to sleep on the streets. Yihao and the guards looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Xie Chunyu, that wretched girl, she's too disloyal. She went to enjoy herself and left me on the streets. Yihao was a little envious of Xie Chunyu. If he had known, he would have stayed at Song Shanshan's house. It was better than staying on the streets. At this moment, a servant saw Yihao and his group from afar and immediately ran over while panting. You must be young Master Xia. Xia was the name Yihao had made up. In order to avoid the investigation of Zimo, Er's family, Yihao had to be careful. Yes. Yihao smiled and nodded. The servant's face lit up, and he hurriedly wiped the sweat on his head. Young Master Xia, you've really made me look for you. I thought you were gone. Yihao's head was instantly filled with black lines. He ignored the servant and looked at him. I don't know who you are, and why are you looking for me? Young Master Xia, most of the restaurants in the city are full recently. Moreover, you've offended General Wu, so no restaurant dares to let you stay. The servant continued. Yihao came to a sudden realization. No wonder so many restaurant owners had expressions of admiration and fear when they saw him. It was because of Gua Ingrue. It seemed like the Gua family had a pretty good position in Beast King City. Your young lady is Song Shanshan, right? Yihao then saw that there was a black Song character embroidered on the servant's chest. He did not notice it at first. Moreover, in this Beast King City, other than Song Shanshan, Yihao did not know any other young ladies. Moreover, there was only one family with the surname Song. How did you know? I didn't tell you. The servant was obviously an idiot. He looked at Yihao in confusion. Don't you have the Song character embroidered on your chest? Yihao chuckled and looked at the servant. The servant scratched his head in embarrassment. After looking at so many restaurants, Yihao was too lazy to continue looking. He could only go to the Song family with the servant. Didn't you say you weren't coming? Our young Master Xia. Xie Chenyu seemed to have known that Yi Hao would come. She was already waiting at the door. However, Song Shanshan was not here. Yi Hao completely ignored Xie Chenyu and walked straight into the Song family's residence. Yi Hao didn't want to talk to Xie Chenyu. Otherwise, he didn't know how this girl would find ways to mock him. He did not want to trouble Song Shanshan, who knew that there was not even a single restaurant. It was really out of his expectations. According to Yi Hao's understanding, Xie Chenyu would definitely not let go of the opportunity to attack him. Who knew that this girl would be so vengeful? It was because Guan Yu had sealed her cultivation. Of course, the seal had been released long ago. However, she was still brooding over it. She could not find a chance to take revenge and wanted to eat Yi Hao's barbecued meat. She could only rely on the power of her mouth to attack Yi Hao. However, Yi Hao had the foresight to directly ignore Xie Chenyu, making her plan to ridicule Yi Hao for half a day in vain. In the end, all her plans were ruined. Xie Chenyu stood behind and stomped her feet. Then, she followed him angrily. Little brother Xia is here. Please take a seat. Yi Hao was led to the Song family's guest hall by the servant. City Lord Song seemed to have been waiting for a long time. Greetings, City Lord Song. Yi Hao smiled and greeted him. You have no manners at all, a middle-aged man said unhappily when he saw Yi Hao's actions. Shut up. City Lord Song looked at his second son unhappily. Father, I'm not feeling well. I'll take my leave first. Song Dai did not dare to disobey City Lord Song. He pursed his lips and left. Little brother Xia, you must be joking. It's all my fault for not teaching my son well. City Lord Song did not stop his son from leaving. Instead, he looked at Yi Hao with a smile. Chapter 175. Only Xie Chenyu, Song Shanshan, and City Lord Song were left in the living room of the Song mansion. Yi Hao had already gone to rest. Young miss, this brat is too hard to read. City Lord Song looked at Xie Chenyu and said helplessly, the harder it is to read, the more shocking it is. Otherwise, what use would we have for him? Xie Chenyu sat on the main seat and said with a frown, this brat is indeed a talent. City Lord Song nodded in agreement. But it is not easy to control such a person. The harder it is to control, the greater the impact on the Thousand Beasts sect. When Xie Chenyu mentioned the Thousand Beasts sect, her eyes flashed with hatred. Young Miss Yuan. Shut up, don't mention him again. Xie Chenyu's face was filled with sentimentality and hatred when she heard City Lord Song's words. She immediately shouted. Seeing Xie Chenyu's expression, City Lord Song could not help but feel sorry for her. Song Shanshan quickly said in a gentle voice, Sister Chenyu, what difficulties does Brother Yuan have? Difficulties? Ha! Xie Chenyu suddenly stood up and said with a cold smile, his difficulties are that he killed my father? His difficulties are that he became the peak master of the Thousand Beasts sect's Beast Blood Peak and the last disciple of the sect master? Xie Chenyu said with heartache. The hatred in her eyes made the two of them speechless. What Xie Chenyu said was the truth. I will definitely use this spiritual umbrella he gave me to kill him with my own hands. I will clean up the sect for my father and pay tribute to my father's soul in heaven. Xie Chenyu pulled out her beloved umbrella from her back because it was a gift from the person she loved. However, the senior brother who took care of her since she was young, the senior brother who was filial to her father since she was young, had killed her father right under her nose. The dreams and future she had intertwined for so many years had collapsed in an instant. Therefore, she left with hatred. She only wanted to leave this place until she had enough strength to return and kill that ingrate with her own hands. However, who would have thought that she would mistakenly think that Yi Hao was a bad person and, as a result, Guan Yu sealed her cultivation? What shocked her was that Yi Hao was only the emperor of a duchy, but he actually had a martial venerable under him. Based on her intuition, Yi Hao either had a heaven-shaking method or was hiding a heaven-shaking secret on his body. But along the way, no matter how hard he tried to get information out of Yi Hao, he just couldn't get any information out of him. As for those guards, they were simply like blocks of wood. Apart from Yi Hao, they didn't pay any attention to anyone else. And the reason Yi Hao was able to come to Beast King City was mostly because of her plan. Otherwise, how could Yi Hao be so coincidental as to pass by Beast King City while heading west? Why didn't she stop and directly enter Beast King City? If she had only needed to say a word, that guard definitely wouldn't have dared to stop Yi Hao. It was because she wanted to discuss a strategy with City Lord Song. This City Lord Song was her father's subordinate many years ago. Fortunately, he was very loyal to her father. That was why he stepped forward to help Yi Hao. But actually, City Lord Song had also arrived at the instant when Gua Ingrue arrived. However, he wanted to wait until Yi Hao was in danger before he stepped in to save him. That way, it would be equivalent to saving Yi Hao's life. Furthermore, he also wanted to test out Yi Hao's strength. However, Yi Hao's strength was beyond his expectations. Yi Hao's speed was actually above that of an 8th level Martial King. He instantly killed Lan Bao. He didn't step in to save Yi Hao. Instead, he was afraid that Yi Hao would kill Gua Ingrue. At that time, the Gua family would step in and they wouldn't be able to save Yi Hao. At that time, Xie Chunyu's plan would be ruined. Furthermore, half of the reason why Yi Hao couldn't find the restaurant was because of the Song family's interference. After all, there were so many restaurants in the Beast King City. A majority of them belonged to the Song family. There were also other powers. No matter how powerful the Gua family was, it was impossible for them to manage the Song family's restaurants. Originally, they had brought Yi Hao to the Song residence in hopes of using the Gua family's power to scare Yi Hao. Who would have thought that this brat didn't take them seriously at all? Furthermore, he didn't act according to common sense. Only then did they realize that controlling Yi Hao and making Yi Hao do things for them was incomparably difficult. "Miss, what should we do next?" City Lord Song asked when he saw the hatred on Xie Chunyu's face. Xie Chunyu placed the purple umbrella behind her back. She frowned and started to think of a strategy. Suddenly, she looked at Song Shanshan and a sharp light flashed in her eyes. "Why are you looking at me?" Song Shanshan met Xie Chunyu's fiery gaze and lowered her head in panic. "Shanshan, what do you think of Xia Hao?" Xie Chunyu grabbed Song Shanshan's soft and smooth hand and asked softly. Song Shanshan thought for a moment and said, "The meat he barbecued is very delicious. All you think about is eating." Xie Chunyu gently knocked Song Shanshan's head. "Ouch!" Song Shanshan hugged her cute head in pain and said unhappily, "Aren't you better at eating than me? Why are you still talking about me?" "Humph." Xie Chunyu's face turned red at Song Shanshan's words. She quickly defended herself and said, "That's because the meat is delicious. It has nothing to do with the meat he barbecued. If it was me, it would definitely be better than his." Song Shanshan curled her lips and mercilessly attacked. "I don't know who barbecued meat in the past. Later on, it was Yuan Shanshan." City Lord Song immediately glared at Song Shanshan angrily. Song Shanshan knew that she had said something wrong. She stuck out her cute tongue and played with the corner of her clothes. She secretly looked at Xie Chunyu and said carefully, "Sister Chunyu, I didn't do it on purpose." Xie Chunyu patted Song Shanshan's head and forced a smile on her face. She asked softly, "Does it hurt?" Song Shanshan quickly shook her head. "Shanshan, can you do me a favor?" Xie Chunyu held Song Shanshan's hand and looked into her eyes as she asked eagerly. As it touched on Xie Chunyu's sore spot, Song Shanshan was very embarrassed. She quickly said, "Sister Chunyu, just say it. I'll agree to any of your requests as long as you don't get angry at me." "Grandpa Song, I want Shanshan to use her beauty to seduce Xia Hao. You don't have any objections, right?" Xie Chunyu looked at City Lord Song and asked. City Lord Song's heart tightened. After all, Song Shanshan was his granddaughter whom he loved dearly. Now that his granddaughter was going to be used as a chess piece, he felt very uncomfortable. However, he had been loyal to peak leader Xie all his life. Furthermore, Xie Chunyu was peak leader Xie's only bloodline. Logically speaking, he would agree to all of her requests, even if it meant sacrificing his life. However, Song Shanshan was his precious granddaughter. He could not bear to part with her at all. You want me to use my beauty to seduce Brother Xiao?" Song Shanshan seemed to have recovered from her shock. She asked in a puzzled voice, Can't we just tell Brother Xia? Brother Xia is such a good person. He will definitely help us. How do you know that he's a good person? City Lord Song and Xie Chunyu looked at Song Shanshan with puzzled eyes. Chapter 176. Only Xie Chunyu, Song Shanshan, and City Lord Song were left in the living room of the Song residence. Yihao had already gone to rest. Young miss, this brat's thoughts are too hard to read. City Lord Song looked at Xie Chunyu and said helplessly, the harder it is to read, the more shocking it is. Otherwise, what use would we have for him? Xie Chunyu sat on the main seat and said with a frown, this brat is indeed a talent. City Lord Song nodded in agreement. However, he was still very worried. But it is not easy to control such a person. The harder it is to control, the greater the impact on the Thousand Beast sect. When Xie Chunyu mentioned the Thousand Beast sect, her eyes flashed with hatred. Young Miss Yuan. Shut up, don't mention him again. Xie Chunyu's face was filled with sadness and hatred when she heard City Lord Song's words. She immediately shouted. Seeing Xie Chunyu's appearance, City Lord Song could not help but feel sorry for her. Song Shanshan quickly said in a gentle voice, Sister Chunyu, what difficulties does Big Brother Yuan have? Difficulties? How? Xie Chunyu suddenly stood up and said with a cold smile, the difficulties are that he killed my father? The difficulties are that he became the peak master of the Thousand Beast sect's Beast Blood Mountain and the sect master's last disciple? Xie Chunyu said with heartache. The hatred in her eyes made the two of them speechless. What Xie Chunyu said was the truth. I will definitely use this spiritual umbrella he gave me to kill him with my own hands. I will clean up the sect for my father and pay tribute to my father's soul in heaven. Xie Chunyu pulled out the beloved purple umbrella behind her back because it was given to her by the person she loved. However, the senior brother who had taken care of her since she was young, the senior brother who had been filial to her father since she was young, had killed her father right under her nose. This caused her dreams and future to crumble in an instant. Therefore, she left with hatred. She only wanted to leave this place until she had enough strength to return and kill that ingrate with her own hands. However, Xie Chunyu did not expect that, due to a freak combination of factors, she had mistakenly thought that Yi Hao was a bad person. In the end, her cultivation had been sealed by Guan Yu. What shocked her the most was that Yi Hao, who was only the emperor of a duchy, actually had a martial saint expert as his subordinate. Based on her intuition, Yi Hao either had a heaven-shaking method, or he was hiding a heaven-shaking secret. But along the way, no matter how hard she tried to get information out of Yi Hao, she just couldn't get any information out of him. As for those guards, they were simply like blocks of wood. Other than Yi Hao, they didn't care about anyone else's words. This caused Xie Chunyu to suffer a lot. And the reason Yi Hao was able to come to Beast King City was mostly because of her plan. Otherwise, how could Yi Hao be so coincidental as to pass by Beast King City while heading west? Why didn't she stop and directly enter Beast King City? If she had only needed to say a word, that guard definitely wouldn't have dared to stop Yi Hao. It was because she wanted to discuss a strategy with City Lord Song. City Lord Song was her father's subordinate many years ago. Fortunately, he was very loyal to her father. That was why he stepped forward to help Yi Hao. But in fact, City Lord Song had arrived at the same time as Guang Rue. However, he wanted to wait until Yi Hao was in danger before he stepped in to save him. That way, it would be equivalent to him saving Yi Hao's life. Moreover, he also wanted to test Yi Hao's strength. But Yi Hao's strength was beyond his expectations. Yi Hao's speed was actually above that of an 8th level martial king. He instantly killed Lan Bao. He did not step in to save Yi Hao. Instead, he was afraid that Yi Hao would kill Guo Yingrui. If the Guo family intervened, they would not be able to save Yi Hao. At that time, Xie Chunyu's plan would fail. Moreover, half of the reason why Yi Hao could not find a restaurant was because of the Song family. After all, there were so many restaurants in the Beast King City. Most of them belonged to the Song family. There were also other forces. No matter how powerful the Guo family was, it was impossible for them to control the Song family's restaurants. Originally, They had brought Yi Hao to the Song residence in hopes of using the Guo family's power to scare Yi Hao, who knew that this brat did not take them seriously at all. Moreover, he did not play by the rules. Only then did they realize that it was extremely difficult to control Yi Hao and make Yi Hao work for them. "Miss, what should we do next?" City Lord Song asked when he saw the hatred on Xie Chunyu's face. Xie Chunyu carried the purple umbrella behind her back. She frowned and started to think of a plan. Suddenly, she looked at Song Shanshan and her eyes flashed. "Sister Shanshan, why are you looking at me?" Song Shanshan met Xie Chunyu's fiery gaze and lowered her head in panic. "Shanshan, what do you think of Xia Hao?" Xie Chunyu grabbed Song Shanshan's soft and smooth hand and asked softly. Song Shanshan thought for a moment and licked her cute tongue. She swallowed her saliva and said, "The meat he barbecued is very delicious. All you think about is eating." Xie Chunyu was exasperated. She knocked Song Shanshan's head lightly. "Ouch!" Song Shanshan hugged her cute head in pain and said unhappily, "Aren't you better at eating than me? Why are you scolding me?" "Umph." Xie Chunyu's face turned red when she heard Song Shanshan's words. She quickly explained, "That's because the meat is delicious. It has nothing to do with him barbecuing. If it was me, it would definitely be better." Song Shanshan curled her lips and mercilessly attacked. "I don't know who barbecued meat in the past." Later, it was Yuan Shanshan. City Lord Song immediately glared at Song Shanshan angrily. Song Shanshan knew that she had said something wrong. She stuck out her cute tongue and played with the corner of her clothes. She secretly looked at Xie Chunyu and said carefully, "Sister Chunyu, I didn't do it on purpose." Xie Chunyu patted Song Shanshan's head and forced a smile. She asked softly, "Does it hurt?" Song Shanshan quickly shook her head. "Shanshan, can you do me a favor?" Xie Chunyu held Song Shanshan's hand and looked into her eyes. She asked eagerly. Song Shanshan was very embarrassed because she had touched on Xie Chunyu's sore spot. She quickly said, "Sister Chunyu, just say it. I'll agree to any of your requests as long as you don't get angry at me." "Grandpa Song, I want Shanshan to use her beauty to seduce Xia Hao. You don't have any objections, right?" Xie Chunyu looked at City Lord Song and asked. City Lord Song's heart tightened. After all, Song Shanshan was his granddaughter. Now that his granddaughter was going to be used as a chess piece, he felt very uncomfortable. However, he had been loyal to peak leader Xie all his life. Moreover, Xie Chunyu was peak leader Xie's only bloodline. Logically, he would agree to any request, even if it meant sacrificing his life. However, Song Shanshan was his precious granddaughter. He could not bear to part with her. "Ah, you want me to use my beauty to seduce Brother Xia?" Song Shanshan seemed to have recovered from her shock. She asked in confusion, "Can't we just tell Brother Xia? Brother Xia is such a good person. He will definitely help us." "How do you know that he is a good person?" City Lord Song and Xie Chunyu looked at Song Shanshan with puzzled eyes. Chapter 177. Because he barbecued meat for me. Song Shanshan thought for a moment. She didn't know why she would say that Yi Hao was a good person. In a flash of inspiration, she brought up the topic of barbecued meat again. Xie Chunyu had the urge to bang her head against the wall. She was really worried about whether her decision to let Song Shanshan use her beauty was the right one. She had a feeling that if Yi Hao gave Song Shanshan a piece of barbecued meat, Song Shanshan would run after Yi Hao. "Shanshan, are you willing?" "Even if you're not, I won't force you," Xie Chunyu asked again. Song Shanshan hesitated and looked at City Lord Song. City Lord Song smiled and said, "Shanshan, I'll leave this matter to you. Grandfather won't interfere with your decision. You're all grown up now." "Oh." Song Shanshan lowered her head, fiddling with the corner of her shirt with her fair little hands. Her eyes kept sneaking glances at the two of them. The two of them were also looking forward to seeing what decision Song Shanshan would make. Song Shanshan said coquettishly, her voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Her face was a little flushed. "But I don't know how to use my beauty." "It's okay, big sister will teach you." Xie Chunyu was overjoyed. With a smile on her face, She held Song Shanshan's hand again and said enthusiastically. City Lord Song shook his head. Since Song Shanshan had already decided he shouldn't interfere, he only hoped that Yi Hao wouldn't do anything out of line. Otherwise, he wouldn't let Yi Hao off the hook. Grandfather Song, I wonder if our people are ready for the beast appraisal competition? Xie Chunyu whispered into Song Shanshan's ear and suddenly asked. Don't worry, young Mississippi. Upon hearing Xie Chunyu's question, City Lord Song immediately replied confidently. The one we're sending this time is Master Shui. He'll definitely win first place. Oh, Xie Chunyu was curious. Is this Master Shui very good at beast appraising? City Lord Song noticed Xie Chunyu's question and explained with a smile. This Master Shui's ability to appraise live eggs has reached 40%. It's infinitely close to 50%. That's amazing. Xie Chunyu was surprised. For the sake of young Mrs. Plan, this old man will naturally do his best. Seeing Xie Chunyu's astonishment, City Lord Song finally felt some comfort in his heart. City Lord Song spoke again. Miss, that Xia Hao insisted on participating in the beast appraisal competition. Do you think he's afraid of the Gua family? Or does he really know how to appraise? Yi Hao's silhouette appeared in Xie Chunyu's mind. After interacting with him for so many days, she refused to believe that Yi Hao would participate in the beast appraisal competition out of fear of the Gua family. Moreover, she knew that Yi Hao knew nothing about beast appraising. Hence, she couldn't figure out Yi Hao's motive for attending the beast appraisal competition at the moment. Since he wants to participate, then let him participate. Let's see how he embarrasses himself. Xie Chunyu could already see Yi Hao making a fool of himself. The beast appraisal competition wasn't something that could be won by luck alone. It required the accumulation of time and true ability. She estimated that Yi Hao might even be eliminated in the first round. Grandpa, Sister Chunyu, should we persuade Brother Xia again? Yi Hao returned to his room and quickly closed the door. From his space, he took out the pet egg he obtained from killing the Dark Knight Heavenly Wolf. Whether or not the probing skill works depends on you. Yi Hao knew that the system wouldn't just let him participate in the beast appraisal competition. There must be more to it. Hence, Yi Hao was anxious to find out if the probing skill was useful in beast appraising. Could it be used to check the pet egg? Ding dong. Probing failed. Ding dong, probing failed. After using the probing skill several times in a row, he failed every single time. Yi Hao was disappointed. Could it be that the probing skill doesn't work on magical beast eggs? Yi Hao refused to give up. He tried one last time. Ding dong, probing successful. Rank 5 magical beast, Dark Knight Heavenly Wolf, live egg. It really works. That's great. Yi Hao was stunned when he heard the system's notification. Then, he immediately jumped up in joy. Soon, Yi Hao lay on his bed, deep in thought, and came to a conclusion. The probing skill could detect all sorts of things, but just like probing a person's level, probing a magical beast's egg was also limited. That was why Yi Hao failed so many times when probing the Dark Knight Heavenly Wolf. However, Yi Hao finally knew that the probing skill was useful for magical beast eggs. This gave Yi Hao some confidence that he wouldn't embarrass himself in the beast appraisal competition. The next day, under Song Shanshan's pestering, Yi Hao had no choice but to go out and play with her for the whole day. Yi Hao also tested his probing skill while he was at it. Brother Xia, wake up quickly. The beast appraisal competition is starting today. Early in the morning, Song Shanshan ran to Yi Hao's door and shouted. Yi Hao opened his sleepy eyes and answered, coming. You silly girl, why have you been pestering me for the past few days? Don't you need to cultivate? Yi Hao looked at Song Shanshan, speechless. He had only met Xie Chunyu a few times ever since he arrived at the Song Manor. Instead, this Song Shanshan kept waking him up every day. Song Shanshan's face was slightly red as she said indignantly, Aren't you also not cultivating? Moreover, my level isn't any lower than yours. Yi Hao was speechless. It was his fault for not being able to cultivate. Otherwise, he wouldn't be wasting his time here. However, if he wanted to level up, other than killing monsters and completing the system's missions, there was no other way. And Song Shanshan's cultivation level was even more of a blow to him. In the Yin Dragon country, for someone as young as him to reach the Martial King realm, he was basically a genius. And this Song Shan Shan, who was even younger than him, had actually reached the Martial King realm. Although Yi Hao was confident that he could defeat Song Shan Shan in an instant, he couldn't help but sigh at the difference between regions. Even if they had the same level of talent, living in a level 10 area and a level 1 area were worlds apart. The Beast King city was located in a level 7 area. Its martial power was much stronger than that of Yanlong country. For example, the people of Yanlong country could cultivate to the level of a martial general. As for the ordinary people of the Beast King city, they could become martial generals as long as they slept. This was the difference between the regions of the 10,000 countries continent. The difference in martial power between each region was huge. Otherwise, the level 1 areas of the 10,000 countries continent wouldn't be occupied by the powerful forces of the 10,000 countries continent. Of course, other than the regions, there would also be some treasured lands. They would exist in any region and could also increase the speed of cultivation by several times. For example, the Thousand Beast sect was a treasured land, although it appeared in the level 7 area. Even some countries and forces in the level 5 area might not be able to match up to the Thousand Beast sect strength. This was because the Thousand Beast sect occupied a treasured land. The martial power in the Thousand Beast sect's territory was comparable to the martial power in the level 5 area. Chapter 178. Furthermore, the higher one's realm, the longer one's lifespan would be. In the Myriad Kingdom continent, everyone wanted to reach a higher realm and reach the legendary realm of immortality. This was also the reason why some people were willing to be a nobody in a place where martial arts were rich, rather than running to a place where martial arts were scarce and becoming an emperor. Everyone wanted to fly higher. Everyone wanted to go further. Just like in the Yi country of the past, many generations of people had spent their entire lives, but the strongest person had not reached the level of a general. If not for the help of other powers, those princes would not have been able to reach the level of a general. At that time, although Yi Batian had countless treasures, they could not buy good cultivation resources. The cultivation resources of a lifetime might not even be as many as the cultivation resources that Song Shan Shan, the daughter of the city lord's family, had seen. This might be what people meant by man wants to go higher, water flows down. However, what the people of the Myriad Kingdom continent needed was strength. Furthermore, there were some people who did not understand the outside world at all. Furthermore, if they wanted to go higher without certain opportunities and skills, they might die halfway. Just like Yi Hao, if not for the help of the system, he might have to stay in the Yi country for the rest of his life. At most, he would be able to guard a few cities and be the emperor of a principality. His cultivation would only be below that of a general for the rest of his life, and he would have to worry about being destroyed by others every day. Furthermore, if a person did not have the ability, he would not be able to go higher. If Yi Hao was not a martial king, even if he went to the Beast King city, he would only be bullied. Otherwise, those guards would not have gone to find trouble with him. And for people who were used to staying in a high-level area, it was very difficult for them to go to a low-level area because it was incomparably difficult to cultivate in a low-level area. Furthermore, the cultivation resources in a high-level area were not something that a low-level area could compare to. This was also the reason why the guards in the Beast King city were all Wu-Ho, but they were unwilling to go to a low-level area to develop. If they went to a low-level area to develop, they might be able to obtain some glory and wealth. However, the scarcity of martial arts in the air would make them go crazy and they would lose the chance to become strong. If they were unlucky, they might have been annihilated by the forces behind them. For example, if Wu-Ho were to bully Yanlong country, the Fiend Spirit country and the Fire Empire would definitely not sit by and do nothing. Could one Wu-Ho fight against them? Therefore, everyone wanted to develop in a better area. This was also the reason why there were so many people fighting for a spot as an outer disciple of the Thousand Beast sect. This was because it was extremely difficult for a person to go to a higher level area, and becoming an outer disciple of the Thousand Beast sect was nothing more than a shortcut. He would be able to jump from the level 7 area to the level 5 area without any effort. That way, his cultivation speed would undoubtedly increase rapidly. Moreover, the cultivation resources of the Thousand Beast sect were incomparable to those of the outside world. Therefore, in a myriad kingdom continent, a world where martial artists were respected, the stronger one was, the more one would have. After all, everyone dreamed of immortality, and continuous breakthroughs were the best way to achieve that goal. The Thousand Beasts sect made an exception to accept outer disciples, which naturally caused a huge commotion. Once people from the surrounding dozens of cities heard the news, they all rushed over without stopping to rest. Even the rank 6 forces sent their experts over. However, the Thousand Beasts sect selection method was a little surprising. They only wanted the champion of the Beast Appraisal competition, which annoyed many experts. However, this didn't stop some experts from trying their luck from signing up for the competition. Oh my God, so many people! Yihao looked at the long line of people in shock. The line had already stretched past the Song Manor's main entrance. Isn't it just a beast appraisal competition? Does it have to be so exaggerated? Yihao was speechless. Did the beast appraisal competition have some generous prizes? Or was everyone in the Myriad Kingdom continent gambling too much? Song Shanshan looked at Yihao's shocked expression and asked in confusion, "Don't you know about the prize for the champion of this beast appraisal competition?" Yihao spread his arms helplessly and chuckled. "How would I know? Could it be a mythical beast egg?" "Mythical beast egg? Stop dreaming." Song Shanshan saw the people in the queue casting mocking gazes at Yihao upon hearing his words. Song Shanshan immediately pulled Yihao away as if she was running away. Yihao helplessly let Song Shanshan drag him away. "Why are you running away? There's no mythical beast egg, but the prize is to join the Thousand Beast sect." Song Shanshan pulled Yihao to a secluded spot and said, "The Thousand Beast sect? Are they very powerful?" Yihao asked softly when he saw Song Shanshan's exaggerated expression. Song Shanshan really didn't know how to continue this conversation with Yihao. She thought Yihao was just like those who relied on luck to join the Thousand Beast sect. Who knew that Yihao didn't even know about the Thousand Beast sect? Song Shanshan was very curious. She widened her bright eyes, her adorable eyelashes fluttering nonstop. "Can you tell me why you're participating in this competition?" "You want to know?" Yihao looked at Song Shanshan's adorable appearance and asked with a smile. Yes. Song Shanshan's little head nodded like a chick pecking at rice. She looked at Yihao like a curious baby. "Then be my partner." Yihao suddenly became playful and said jokingly. Song Shanshan immediately felt her ears burning. She was about to refuse when she remembered Xie Chunyu's request. She nodded and said shyly, "Okay, but you can only be good to me." Yihao was a little surprised, as if he had heard wrongly. Looking at this girl's state, she didn't seem to be joking. He quickly refused, "Then forget it." Do you have a partner?" In the world of 10,000 kingdoms, boyfriend and girlfriend were called partners. Although Song Shanshan didn't really want to be Yihao's partner, she didn't feel relieved when she heard Yihao's refusal. Instead, she asked angrily, "I guess so." Yihao looked at Song Shanshan's expression and felt that it was indescribable. However, when it came to his partners, Yihao's mind immediately flashed with ZMO, Mu Qingyu, Jiu Hongling, and even Li Ura. As for Zhao Yunhan, forget it. He wasn't interested in her at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so ruthless as to destroy the entire Zhao country. If it weren't for the fact that he was engaged to her, Yihao wouldn't have kept her alive. When Yihao thought of this, he was a little shocked. He hadn't been in the world of 10,000 kingdoms for long, and he had already been involved with so many women. Yihao admitted that he was selfish. He didn't want to let any of these women go. As a man, how could he tolerate the women he liked being ruined by other men? The best way was to marry all of them. Chapter 179. At this time, in a mysterious area of the 10,000 Kingdoms continent, a girl in red who looked similar to ZMO walked out and took ZMO's hand. She asked happily, "Mo, you're back. Where's Yihao?" "Mo is useless. Please punish me." Mo couldn't find Yi Hao. Zmo lowered her head. Her eyes were filled with tears as she said pitifully, "It's fine if you couldn't find him. Why would I punish you?" Xinger smiled sweetly. Mo, go and find me. I miss you. When Zmo heard this, she remembered that her aunt was still worried about brother Yi Hao. She must tell her aunt this news and let her be happy. Zmo thought happily. Then I'll go and find you first. Zmo squeezed out 2 drops of tears. Zixing looked at Zmo's back as she left. A thoughtful expression appeared in her eyes. When Zmo had completely disappeared, the smile on her face suddenly disappeared. She said coldly, "Lords, please come out." As soon as Zixing's voice fell, the 2 martial emperors immediately appeared in front of Zixing. They bowed respectfully and said, "Greetings, First Princess. What's the situation? Is it really like what Mo said?" Zixing flicked her sleeves and looked coldly at the 2 of them. "Although the little princess is playful, we really couldn't find Yi Hao, that evil creature," the thin martial emperor said softly. "Shut up. How many times have I said it? You can't say that Yi Hao is an evil creature in the palace. If my aunt hears it, we'll be in trouble." Zixing glared fiercely at the thin martial emperor and scolded coldly. "I know my mistake. Please punish me." The thin martial emperor shuddered and quickly knelt on the ground. Zixing glanced around and waved her hand. "Get up. If there's a next time, I won't let you off easily." "Yes." The thin martial emperor heaved a sigh of relief and quickly stood up. Zixing asked again, "Mo, did you come into contact with anyone along the way?" Yi Shui's figure immediately appeared in the thin martial emperor's mind. But when he thought of Zmo's request, if the first princess found out that Zmo had been playing for half a month, the first princess would definitely charge them with dereliction of duty. Moreover, in their eyes, Yi Shui was just a country bumpkin. It didn't matter if they mentioned him or not. The thin martial emperor hurriedly said, reporting to the first princess, "The little princess has been with us. In that case, all of you can go and rest. I'll go look for my aunt. Remember to keep your mouths shut, or else." Zixing believed them and did not ask any further questions. She warned them coldly, "Don't worry, First Princess." The fat and thin martial emperors quickly bowed and left. Looking at the backs of the fat and thin martial emperors, a murderous intent flashed in Zixing's eyes. "Count yourselves lucky this time. If you had really killed Yi Hao, do you think I would have let you live?" After the fat and thin martial emperors left, the 2 exchanged glances and wiped the cold sweat off their foreheads. The thin martial emperor said carefully, "The first princess is simply too scary. Earlier, I felt like my heart was about to leap out of my chest. That's because the first princess has a peerless spirit body. The God Emperor has the intention of grooming the first princess to become the next God Emperor," the fat martial emperor said with some envy. Suddenly, the thin martial emperor sent a voice transmission to the fat martial emperor. "Say, if we had really killed Yi Hao, would we have been able to live?" The fat martial emperor took a deep look at the thin martial emperor and said with a smile, "So, you didn't make a move, right? So, you noticed it too." The thin martial emperor chuckled. "How could such a small trick escape our spiritual senses? So, Yi Shui is just a country bumpkin. We've never seen Yi Hao before. We don't even know who Yi Shui is." The 2 of them had no choice but to be careful in their hearts. Otherwise, they might fall into a bottomless abyss at any time. Yi Hao was the imperial aunt's son. The imperial aunt would definitely do her best to protect Yi Hao. However, the God Emperor treated Yi Hao as a disgrace and wanted to kill Yi Hao. The imperial aunt and the God Emperor were about the same in terms of strength and influence. They could not afford to offend either of them. Even if they found out that Yi Hao was Yi Shui, they could only pretend that they did not know. Only in this way could they not offend either side. Moreover, although Zmo and Zixing were twins, one of them had a personality like the God Emperor and the other like the imperial aunt. The 2 of them were doted on by the God Emperor and the imperial aunt respectively. "And I'm back." ZMO, skipped to the Imperial Aunt's palace. She wanted to tell her aunt the news of Yi Hao as soon as possible so that her aunt who loved her could be happy. A beautiful woman was sitting in the palace. At this moment, she was lying on the throne with a worried expression. When she heard ZMO's clear voice, she opened her eyes in disbelief. The worry on her face was covered by a smile. "Emor, you're back. Run slowly. Don't get hurt." ZMO immediately threw herself into the woman's arms. She sat on the throne and said coquettishly, "Aunt Emor missed you so much. I thought you lost him. You still know how to miss me?" The woman touched Emor's head lovingly and said with a smile, "Aunt, I saw Brother Yi Hao." Emma suddenly said mysteriously. "What?" The woman's expression changed. She glanced at the palace. "Emor, follow me to the back." ZMO also knew that this was not a trivial matter. She hurriedly followed the woman to the back of the palace. The woman asked anxiously, "They didn't hurt my son, right? Otherwise, I would definitely not let them go. I would kill them with my own hands as an apology to my son." Feeling the overwhelming killing intent from her aunt and the powerful force from the woman, ZMO was sent flying. A trace of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Emoa." The woman hurriedly withdrew her aura and hurriedly helped ZMO up. She took out a pill and put it in ZMO's mouth. "Emor, are you all right? It's all my fault. I couldn't control myself." The woman helped ZMO up and said with self-blame. ZMO smiled and shook her head. "Aunt, I'm just slightly injured. Isn't it too wasteful to use a divine pill?" "Silly girl, it's just a divine pill. How can it compare to your body?" The woman smiled lovingly and touched her head. ZMO seemed to enjoy it very much. At the same time, she said, "Aunt, don't worry. Brother Yi Hao is safe and sound now." As if thinking of something, ZMO took out a large bag of lollipops from the space and handed it to the woman. The woman looked at the lollipop in ZMO's hand in puzzlement. "What is this?" Brother Yi Hao said that this is a lollipop. He's the only one in the 10,000 land continent who has it. ZMO tore one open and stuffed it into the woman's mouth. When the woman heard that it was a gift from her son, she didn't dodge it. She felt the lollipop in her mouth, and the sweetness filled her taste buds. 2 streams of tears flowed out of the woman's eyes uncontrollably. So sweet. Chapter 180. "Auntie, why are you crying?" ZMO quickly wiped the woman's tears with her small hands. "It's nothing. Can Emo give me this bag of lollipops?" The woman took out the lollipop in her mouth. She was reluctant to eat it because it was given by her son. Then she looked at the bag of lollipops in ZMO's hand. "Here, Auntie. Brother Yi Hao gave me a lot." ZMO immediately stuffed the lollipop into the woman's hand. "Thank you, Mo." The woman held the bag of lollipops in her arms. "How is Brother Yi Hao?" "Auntie, don't worry. Although Brother Yi Hao's rank is very low, he is Wu Ho rank 6. Moreover, he hid his identity. Those people in the country of Yi will definitely not be able to do anything to Brother Yi Hao, because Brother Yi Hao is very mature and steady. He is brave and resourceful." Hearing ZMO's words, the woman's tears gushed out again. She more or less understood the environment in the country of Yi. A 14-year-old child with a rank 6, Wu Ho rank 6, was not worth mentioning in the outside world. However, in the environment in the country of Yi, she could imagine how much suffering Yi Hao had suffered. If he was not threatened, then Yi Hao would not have to hide his identity. She wanted so much to bring Yi Hao to her side, but she could not. "Annie, sister has captured that uncle." The uncle ZMO was talking about was naturally Yi Batian. The woman nodded. "I know about this. His life is not in danger for the time being, but the premise is that I cannot see him. As long as my son is fine, I am relieved. They really thought that I did not know what they asked your sister to do. I did not expect that they would not let my son go even now." The woman said coldly. "Auntie, don't worry. I told Brother Yi Hao that as long as he has not reached the martial god realm, he should not come looking for us. Moreover, I did not tell him my identity. Zmo comforted her. The woman smiled absent-mindedly. Doesn't that mean that I will not be able to see my son for the rest of my life? Zmo was silent. It was too difficult for someone to reach the martial god realm. In their eyes, it was almost impossible for Yi how to reach the martial god realm. Mo, I beg you for a favor. The woman looked at Zmo and suddenly saw a glimmer of hope. Aunt, tell me, as long as it's something you ask me to do, I'll definitely do it. Zmo could feel the despair in the woman's heart at that moment. If it was so easy to become a martial god, then there would be martial gods everywhere. Otherwise, there wouldn't only be one every few thousand years. It was because it was too difficult. Moreover, it might really be like what the woman said. She might not be able to see Yi Hao again for the rest of her life. In her heart, she still liked being with Yi Hao very much. Moreover, she also wanted to help her aunt, who loved her dearly, and reunite with her son. Mo, when I brought you and your sister here, you knew that your aptitude was no less than your sister's. Zmo nodded. It was just that she didn't like to cultivate, so her cultivation wasn't as high as her sister's. Her sister was also nurtured by the next emperor god. Mo, I want your realm to surpass your sister's and let you fight for the position of emperor god. After the woman finished speaking, the Mo cried out in surprise. But aunt, I don't like to cultivate. Then don't you want to help me? Don't you want to see your brother Yi Hao? The woman continued to persuade. I want to help aunt. I want to see brother Yi Hao, but my sister. Zmo felt a little uncomfortable when she thought of fighting for the position of emperor god with her sister. Haven't you noticed that your sister has changed? She has become cold-blooded. Your sister now is more and more like the emperor god. The woman sighed and said, originally, she had picked up Zixing and Zmo. She treated both girls like her own daughters. However, in such an environment, only Zmo still maintained her nature. Yes, Zmo was not stupid. She could definitely sense the change in her sister. At this moment, the two of them had not noticed that Zixing was standing outside the door with a cold expression. Listening to their conversation, Zixing clenched her fists tightly and turned to leave. Father, I have something to report. Zixing came to a palace with an ancient aura and stood at the door of the palace. Oh, it's Xing. Come in. The 100-foot door of the palace opened automatically. A voice that sounded like a man and a woman came from inside. Mo, you're back, right? In the depths of the palace, an ethereal and blurry figure said coldly. Yes, father. Mo has been in contact with that evil creature. Now Mo is with Aunt. Zixing knelt below the throne. She could not see the face on the throne at all. A murderous intent flashed in her eyes. Those two trash dared to lie to me. I'll tear them into pieces. The trash Zmo was talking about was naturally the fat and thin martial emperors. The person on the throne said coldly, Xinger, how many times have I told you? You must consider everything before doing anything. If you kill those two trash, it will definitely arouse your aunt's suspicion. Then, I won't be able to explain it to her. I know I'm wrong. Please punish me, father. However, that evil creature must be killed, and that Yi Batian, Zixing, naturally chose to stand on the Emperor God's side. Naturally, she had to consider everything for the Emperor God. Your aunt's power now is no less than mine. I can't kill Yi Batian for the time being. I can't break the rules first. As for that evil creature being killed, I believe that many people would be willing to see that. As long as those who support your aunt support me at that time, your aunt won't be able to cause any big waves, the Emperor God said coldly. Then, I'll send someone to kill Yi Hao. Hearing the Emperor God's words, Zixing sneered. She thought to herself, Mo, you're destined to be on the wrong side by following Aunt. The next Emperor God can only be me. By the way, I asked you to investigate the person with the innate holy martial spirit body who caused the strange phenomenon. How's the progress? The Emperor God was very satisfied with Zixing's performance. He asked anxiously. Zixing shook her head weakly. I'm useless. I still don't have a clue. The Emperor God was slightly angered. The entire palace was filled with a cold aura. He said sternly, "The innate holy martial spirit body hasn't appeared for 10,000 years. Go and find him. You must find him. Even if you're afraid of turning the entire myriad kingdom continent upside down, you must find him. Even if the innate holy martial spirit body is destroyed, you must not let other forces get it." The Emperor God did not forget to remind her again. "I'll send more people. I'll definitely find that person quickly." Xing also had unspeakable bitterness in her heart. The myriad kingdom continent was too big. Several martial sages had been sent out. However, there's only one strange phenomenon that proved the birth of the innate holy martial spirit body. There was no specific information about the person. Where could they find him? Chapter 181. "All right, Andy. I promise you I'll cultivate." Zmoer gritted her teeth and nodded in agreement. Moer is so obedient. Go and rest. I'll guide you in your cultivation tomorrow." The woman patted Zmoer's head and said happily. Looking at Zmoer's bouncing figure, the woman's face was filled with self-blame. "Ah, silly girl. This place isn't suitable for you. But for my son, I can only let you down. At the very least, you'll be better than your sister if you become the God Emperor." The woman recalled the past. She and the current God Emperor had fought for the position of God Emperor. She had given up the position because she was soft-hearted. That was because her talent was not inferior to the current God Emperor. Otherwise, it was impossible for her strength and influence to be on par with the current God Emperor. The woman looked in the direction of the God Emperor Palace and muttered, "Xing, we should be in the God Emperor Palace. That girl still thinks she's smart. She used the saint weapon I gave her to hide her aura outside my door. Hey, where are you taking me? I have to queue up to register." Yihao was pulled out of the city by Song Shanshan. Yihao asked in confusion, "Don't worry. When the Guo family announced your participation, your name was already registered," Song Shanshan said with a smile. "All right, that saves me a lot of trouble," Yihao said softly, with Song Shanshan pulling him. Yihao looked at a fire that had been lit. A few servants were busy there. Yihao saw their clothes and recognized that they were servants of the Song family. Yihao instantly understood something. Yihao looked at Song Shanshan in shock. "You didn't wake me up early in the morning just to have me roast meat for you, did you?" Song Shanshan nodded with stars in her eyes. However, she felt a little embarrassed and explained, "I haven't had roast meat for a few days. I want to see if your skills have deteriorated." Yihao said with a frown, "That's how you tricked me into roasting meat for you yesterday. Can't you find another excuse today?" Song Shanshan pouted and looked into the distance as if she hadn't heard Yihao's words. However, her blushing face exposed her shy heart. Yihao smiled and shook his head. He took out a piece of blue leopard meat from his space and walked to the fire. When the servants saw Yihao coming over, they hurriedly stood up to greet him. Looking at the blue leopard meat in Yihao's hand, they swallowed hard and gave their seats to Yihao. It seemed that these servants were just like Song Shanshan, deeply affected by the barbecue. The annual beast appraisal competition shall now begin. When it was close to noon, the beast appraisal competition began in Beast King City. Every year's beast appraisal competition only had a maximum of several thousand participants and several tens of thousands of spectators. This year was different. There were tens of thousands of participants and hundreds of thousands of spectators. This was all because of the Wansho sect's outer disciple quota. If it weren't for the end of the registration period, the number of participants would have increased by several times. Just like that, although many people sighed because they didn't register, they still stayed to watch the competition. They wanted to know which lucky person would win this quota. An elderly martial king ascended the stage and shouted with a flushed face. The crowd below immediately erupted into cheers. The old man saw that it was rare for there to be so many people below, and he was very excited. He gathered his emotions and shouted, "Let us warmly welcome the guests of the Thousand Beast sect, Elder Li, Elder Wan, and Elder Bai." In the VIP seats on the stage were the three elders of the Wansho sect. One of them was a young man, while the other two were elderly. Elderly was the young man. When the elderly man introduced him, he only nodded slightly, full of arrogance. This elderly is so young. To be able to become an elder at such a young age, he's amazing. The crowd below the stage didn't have any objections to Elder Lee's arrogance. They were full of admiration for him. After all, he was able to become an elder at such a young age. He had the right to be arrogant. Meanwhile, Elder One was the same as Elder Lee. He only nodded slightly with an expressionless face. On the other hand, the last elder stood up and said with a smile, "Everyone, please be quiet. I am Bai Qingshang from the Wanshou sect. I hereby announce that the winner of this beast appraisal competition will be an external disciple of our Wanshou sect." As soon as Bai Qingshang's voice fell, although everyone knew what the reward was, when it came from Bai Qingshang's mouth, all the contestants rubbed their palms, and some even began to pray. But Bai Qingshang raised both his hands and silenced the crowd's discussion. The crowd quickly stopped talking and turned their attention to Bai Qingshang. Other than the first place, the second and third place will also become apprentice disciples of the Wanshou sect. The top 10 will become odd job disciples. Bai Qingshang released another explosive news. What? The top 10 will become odd job disciples? I'm regretting it. Why didn't I register? Although it's an odd job disciple, it's still a disciple of the Wanshou sect. Who knows, I might even be able to advance further. I don't have any hope of getting first place, but if I work hard, I should be able to get into the top 10. As soon as Bai Qingshang finished speaking, it once again caused a commotion. Many of those who didn't sign up were annoyed. Even those who didn't have any hope of getting first place were now filled with fighting spirit after hearing Bai Qingshang's words. Even the Song and Guo families were shocked. They had just received the news and thought there would only be one spot. They didn't expect the Wanshou sect to be so generous as to give 10 spots. Sparks of fighting spirit flashed in their eyes when they heard Bai Qingshang's announcement. Even the Song and Guo families were shocked. They had just received the news and thought there would only be one spot. They didn't expect the Wanshou sect to be so generous as to give 10 spots. The most excited ones were the smaller families. Although they didn't have much hope of getting first place, if they could become odd job disciples of the Wanshou sect, their family would rise rapidly. Well, everyone has heard it clearly. The top 10 will be able to enter the Wanshou sect. Even this old man regrets not registering. The old man said with a face full of regret. His words instantly caused the audience to burst into laughter. The first round is to choose a living magical beast egg from these eggs to pass the round. Under the instruction of the old man, dozens of pieces of red cloth were removed by the guards, revealing a small hill. Everyone focused their eyes and realized that the small hills were actually all magical beast eggs. There were at least millions of magical beast eggs in total. Moreover, these eggs were all provided by the Wanshou sect. One could see the generosity of the Wanshou sect. These eggs are all low-level magical beast eggs. They have been identified by the masters of the Wanshou sect. At least 1% of the eggs are alive. Each person can choose 2 eggs. As long as one of them is alive, they can proceed to the next round. The low-level magical beasts mentioned by the old man were magical beasts below the 3rd level. Those below the 6th level were called mid-level magical beasts. Those below the 8th level were called high-level magical beasts. Those below the 9th level were called saint beasts, and those below the 10th level were called divine beasts. Chapter 182. That's way too difficult. There's only a 1% chance. Even if you want to rely on luck, you won't stand a chance. The crowd discussed fervently as they stared at the millions of eggs. Although they were of different sizes, they all looked similar. Although only 1% of the eggs were alive, the number of eggs was enough for everyone to advance. However, this was only for those who had studied magical beast eggs. For those who knew nothing about beast appraising, there was a 1% chance. It was possible that a mountain of magical beast eggs was full of dead eggs, but it was also possible that a mountain of magical beast eggs was full of living eggs. Contestants, there are millions of magical beast eggs here, and tens of thousands of living eggs. As long as you're lucky, it'll be easy for you to advance. Moreover, If you manage to identify a living egg, the magical beast will belong to you. The old man continued, in the profession of beast appraising, luck is sometimes very important. Hearing the old man's words, many people were encouraged. A magical beast of the lowest rank could be sold for a few thousand gold taels. Moreover, there were tens of thousands of living eggs. If they relied on luck, they might actually advance. Contestants who have registered, please enter the arena in order when I call your name. After the old man finished speaking, those who had registered quickly went to line up. Inside the arena, there were people who excitedly identified living eggs, while others shook their heads and sighed when they identified dead eggs. The roars of the magical beasts rose and fell. Under the arrangement of the soldiers, the competition quickly began. Where's Xia Hao? Why hasn't he appeared when the competition has already started? Xie Chunyu was wearing a black veil as she stood behind City Lord Song. She scanned the crowd and asked, I heard that Shan Shan took him away. At the same time, a few of his servants also disappeared, City Lord Song said bitterly. Nonsense, Master Shui is still waiting inside. If Yihao doesn't show up, how are we going to proceed with our plan? Xie Chunyu frowned and shouted coldly, I'll go look for them first. Grandpa Song, please hold them back. Xie Chunyu immediately realized that her tone was a little off and said apologetically. City Lord Song didn't look too happy, but when he thought of Xie Chunyu's father, he nodded. City Lord Song, this Xia Hao really doesn't give us any face. He disappeared when the competition started. Gua Ingrue, who was sitting far away, suddenly stood up and asked loudly, instantly attracting the attention of many people. Only then did everyone remember that Xia Hao had killed Gua Ingrue's demonic beast. At the same time, the announcement of Xia Hao's participation in the beast appraisal competition was to humiliate Xia Hao. What surprised everyone was that Xia Hao actually agreed to participate in the competition, either because he was afraid of the Gua family or because he was young and impetuous. Only after hearing Gua Ingrue's question did everyone realize that Xia Hao's absence had given Gua Ingrue an excuse to flip out. General Gua, don't be anxious. Little friend Xia will be here soon. City Lord Song was old but vigorous. He fearlessly met Gua Ingrue's provocative gaze and said with a smile, All right, then I'll wait for him to come. If he runs away or doesn't dare to come, then it'll be a humiliation to my Gua family. When the time comes, I'll definitely come to your house to get a satisfactory explanation. Gua Ingrue coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves, and sat down. Even your father doesn't dare to speak to me in such a manner. I think you must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts. City Lord Song also had a belly full of anger in his heart. He was worried that he had nowhere to vent it. A powerful chi wave surged from his body towards Gua Ingrue. Old Song, why are you making things difficult for a child? Although a voice was heard, it shattered City Lord Song's aura. Greetings, father. Gua Ingrue's expression changed. He didn't expect City Lord Song to dare to make a move at this time. Fortunately, his father appeared in time. City Lord Song didn't turn around. He smiled and replied, Because he's a child, as an elder, I have to help you teach him a lesson. Although I didn't help much when sister-in-law gave birth to him, I also didn't fulfill my responsibilities all these years. That's why he's so arrogant. Guahai's face instantly turned green. Father, you shut up, you bastard. Just as Gua Ingrue was about to speak, Guahai slapped Gua Ingrue's face and sat down with a green face. Gua Ingrue felt very wronged. He didn't know how he offended his father. He looked at City Lord Song with dissatisfaction and had no choice but to sit down. In his heart, he directed all his hatred towards Yihao. You better not come out. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Seeing Guahai and Guahai suffer in silence, the crowd immediately started discussing. Could it be that General Gua is City Lord Song's son? I think so. Otherwise, why didn't Patriarch Gua refute and hit General Gua instead? I really admire Patriarch Gua. He can even endure this. Gua Ingrue naturally heard the discussions below clearly. He finally understood why his father hit him. He quickly said, Father, I'm definitely your biological son. Don't you know mother's character? Shut up. How can I not know? Don't embarrass me anymore, Guahai said angrily. When Xiahao appears later, humiliate him severely. I've already bribed that Master Shui. Let that old man be arrogant for a while longer. Yes, father. Gua Ingrue suddenly realized that his father purposely let City Lord Song let down his guard. Although they didn't know the exact plan of the Song family, they had already bribed the trump card of the Song family. City Lord Song's task from Master Shui was to ensure Yi Hao's advancement. Guahai and Guahai guessed that this was why Yi Hao dared to participate in the competition. But now that they had already bribed Master Shui, it would be harder for Yi Hao to advance. In his heart, he was waiting to see Yi Hao make a fool of himself. Then, he would kill Yi Hao. Moreover, they had arranged for Yi Hao's registration to be last. They were afraid that the Song family had other tricks up their sleeves, because the lower the ranking, the harder it was to advance. Contestant Xia Hao, number 33,451. Contestant Xia Hao, number 33,451. A soldier shouted a few times, and it immediately attracted the attention of the old host. The old host immediately walked over and asked unhappily, "What's going on?" The distinguished guest of the Wan Shou sect is here. Who doesn't know what's good for them? This person is disqualified. How dare he make a fool of the Wan Shou sect? Elderly sat in his seat and said unhappily, "Wait a minute, elderly." This time, City Lord Song and Guahai spoke at the same time. What's the matter? Elderly looked at the two impatiently. I know this Xia Hao. Can you wait a moment? City Lord Song didn't care about Elder Li's attitude and asked carefully, "How dare you? You're just a small city lord. How can you delay the important matters of the Wan Shou sect?" Elderly slapped the armrest of the chair and stood up angrily. "What's going on? Tell me." Elder One did not even look at City Lord Song, directly ignoring him. Instead, he asked Guahai. Chapter 183. Oh, one arrogant brat. After listening to Guahai's embellishment, Elder Wan's wrinkled eyelids lifted slightly as he said contemptuously, "All right, let's wait for Xia Hao for a while." Bai Qingshang said when he saw the awkward atmosphere. Since they were here to select disciples, they had to show the generosity of Wan Shou sect. They couldn't ruin the image of Wan Shou sect just because of a brat. Let's see what this brat has to make us wait for so long. Elder Wan snorted. Although he was related to Gua family, he had to give face to Bai Qingshang. "Xia Hao, what time is it? Why are you still barbecuing? Don't you know that the competition has started?" Xie Chunyu found Yi Hao in a hurry. When she saw Yi Hao barbecuing meat with Song Shanshan and several servants, she was furious. Yi Hao was shocked by Xie Chunyu's shout. His expression changed. Xie Chunyu's commanding tone made him uncomfortable. After a short pause, he continued to barbecue the meat in his hand. "Sister Chunyu, you're here. Do you want to eat? Brother Xia Hao's meat is delicious." Song Shanshan noticed the change in Yi Hao's expression. She quickly took a piece of barbecued meat and handed it to Xie Chunyu. She tried to calm Xie Chunyu down so that they could talk nicely. "What time is it now? You only know how to eat." Xie Chunyu frowned and threw the barbecued meat on the ground. The servants immediately stopped what they were doing and looked at them helplessly. "Xie Chunyu, it's none of your business whether I participate in the competition or not. Please don't show off in front of me." Yi Hao exhaled and stood up to look at Xie Chunyu. His face was so cold that it seemed as if it would drip water. "Shanshan, stand over here. Don't bother with her. It's up to you whether you want to eat or not." Yi Hao looked at the stunned Song Shanshan and said gently. Song Shanshan looked at Yi Hao with a wronged expression. Her eyes glistened with tears as she slowly walked to Yi Hao's side. She did not dare to look at Xie Chunyu. Her eyes were fixed on the barbecued meat on the ground. I'm doing this for your own good. Do you know that the competition has already started?" Xie Chunyu glanced at Yi Hao's eyes. The coldness in his eyes was exactly the same as Minister Yi Hao's. Xie Chunyu's heart couldn't help but panic, but her unyielding character made her unable to let go of her pride. Her tone remained firm. "For my own good? What can I do for you? Should I help you sneak into the Wan Shou sect, or help you kill your father's killer, or let Shanshan seduce me with her beauty?" Yi Hao said disdainfully. Shan Shan Yu. Upon hearing Yi Hao's words, Xie Chunyu's expression changed. Her first suspicion was that Song Shanshan had told Yi Hao about it. Her eyes were filled with anger. Song Shanshan hurriedly shook her head, feeling wronged. She could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes and said, Sister Chunyu, I really didn't. Enough. Yi Hao scolded coldly. He reached out his hand to wipe away Song Shanshan's tears and said, I heard this with my own eyes. As for how I heard it, I don't need to tell you. Impossible. Xie Chunyu's face was filled with disbelief. Yi Hao is only a first-level martial king. How could he eavesdrop on her? A martial spirit realm cultivator? She and City Lord Song didn't even notice it. Nothing is impossible. Yi Hao began to use his hidden martial arts. What about now? Can you still feel my aura? Xie Chunyu revealed a shocked expression. If she hadn't seen Yi Hao standing right in front of her, she wouldn't have been able to sense Yi Hao's presence. A trace of greed appeared in her heart. How did you do it? That's none of your business. If you want me to help you, you'd better put away your greedy thoughts. Yi Hao held Song Shanshan's hand and walked straight towards the city, leaving Xie Chunyu stunned on the spot. Xie Chunyu stood on the spot and looked at Yi Hao's back. She couldn't figure out where Yi Hao got the confidence to threaten her in public. Xie Chunyu clenched the dagger in her hand and put it away. Yi Hao smiled and said loudly, I Yi also look down on those who betray their masters and ancestors. I will help you. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the mission. Investigate the real murderer of Xie Chunyu's father. The reward is 10 million experience points and 3 million resurrection points. At the same time, the system's notifications sounded. With such a high reward, doesn't that mean that the person who killed Xie Chunyu's father wasn't her senior? Yi Hao paused for a moment and continued walking towards the city. At the beginning, it was out of goodwill. Now that the mission had appeared, Yi Hao had no choice but to give it his all. Where's Xia Hao? Is he still participating in the competition? After waiting for a long time, under Elder One's instructions, the old host stood up and shouted again. I think this Xia Hao ran away because he was afraid of embarrassing himself. I think so too. I heard that Xia Hao is just a young boy. How would he know how to appraise beasts? Sai, what a waste of spot. How nice would it be if this spot was given to me? Which bastard is Yi Hao? Hurry up and get out here. Don't waste my time. The onlookers began to discuss animatedly. Some of them even cursed out loud. I'm here. A calm voice sounded. Yi Hao held Song Shanshan's hand and walked slowly towards the person who cursed at the beginning. What are you doing? This is the competition venue. Don't do anything rash. The person who cursed was also a first-level martial king. However, when he saw Yi Hao's gaze, he felt an inexplicable fear. He took a few steps back and asked anxiously, It's nothing. Yi Hao shook his head with a smile. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, the person who had spat out the vulgarities immediately felt that he had lost face. Seeing the smile on Yi Hao's face, he once again gathered his courage and boldly said, It's fine. You could go to your father. Bam! Before he could finish his sentence, Yi Hao suddenly attacked. It was as if a mountain had crashed into his chest. The person was instantly sent flying. Yi Hao walked in front of him and squatted down to look at him. The person who cursed did not expect this young boy, who looked younger than him, to be as strong as him. He kept backing away and said, Don't. I was wrong. I'm just telling you something. Yi Hao said softly as he squatted down. What thing? In his eyes, Yi Hao's smile was like the smile of a devil. At this moment, he was filled with regret. He should not have said such a thing. Otherwise, why would Yi Hao choose him out of hundreds of thousands of people? This Xia Hao is so young, and he's quite strong too. Looking at Yi Hao, who was squatting on the ground, some people's eyes were filled with fear, while others were filled with disdain. How dare you make a move here? Do you really not put us in your eyes? Elder Wan and Elder Li, who were sitting in the VIP seats, were already showing their dissatisfaction. Even Bai Qing Shang, who had been smiling all this time, had a gloomy expression on his face. Chapter 184. When the Guo father and son saw this, they smiled smugly. Although this was still the beast appraisal competition, it was still the 1,000 Beast Sect selection competition. Yi Hao's public attack was equivalent to Yi Hao not giving any face to the 1,000 Beast Sect. The father and son couldn't help but feel anticipation. If Yi Hao dared to kill anyone, Yi Hao would definitely be killed immediately. Keep your mouth clean, and you'll live a long life. Don't scream for no reason. Only animals would scream for no reason, and animals are destined to be killed. Yi Hao stood up immediately after saying that. At the same time, he looked at Elder Li without a trace of fear in his eyes. Bastard! Hearing Yi Hao's words, Elder Li stood up immediately. In his opinion, Yi Hao was clearly scolding him by name. Moreover, Yi Hao's gaze made him very unhappy. No one had ever dared to look at him with such a gaze. Even some people who were stronger than him would be respectful to him if they knew he was from the Wanshou sect. Yi Hao's disdainful gaze was as if he was looking down on him. It made him, who was used to being admired by others, feel very unhappy. Yi Hao chuckled as he looked at Elder Li. His mouth moved slightly as he spat out the word idiot. Although Elder Li didn't hear Yi Hao's words, he could guess that Yi Hao was scolding him. He picked up his weapon and was about to pounce on Yi Hao. Kid, you're asking for it. Yi Hao's eyes narrowed as he prepared to summon his generals. During a battle, the system couldn't summon generals. However, as a precaution, Yi Hao had already summoned a peak martial spirit and a peak martial venerable. They were placed in Dragon Prison Lake, just in case. Of course, the price was Yi Hao's last 1,500,000 soul points, which were basically all gone. Elder Li, don't make a move. This kid is still a contestant. Bai Qingshang immediately stopped Elder Li. This wasn't because Bai Qingshang had good intentions, but because he didn't know the details of Yi Hao's background and rashly made a move. If Yi Hao had a powerful backing behind him, it would undoubtedly cause trouble for the 1,000 Beast Sect. Moreover, Yi Hao's temperament and calm expression showed that he was not afraid. Hearing Bai Qingshang's voice in his mind, Elder Li stopped attacking and looked at Bai Qingshang. Bai Qingshang shook his head slightly. Elder Li glared at Yi Hao and said, "Hurry up and go participate in the competition. This elder will spare your life." I've never known how to scram in my entire life. Can you please show me how to scram? Yi Hao could see that Elder Li was only a level 1 martial revered. Among the people present, Bai Qingshang was the strongest, but he was only a level 3 martial revered. Therefore, Yi Hao didn't feel the slightest pressure in his heart. Yi Hao was looking forward to it. If these people were to fight, then he would be able to gain a lot of experience. Elder Li's eyelids twitched. At first, he was hesitant about Yi Hao's words, but now that he saw how arrogant Yi Hao was, he couldn't help but have some doubts about Yi Hao's identity. Could it be that this kid is really a disciple of some big power? Or is he really not afraid of death? How boring. Yi Hao sighed and shook his head, then walked towards the mountain of demonic beast eggs. My God, so arrogant. He doesn't even give face to the 1,000 Beast Sect's elder. No wonder he dared to kill General Guizlan Bao. He's not even afraid of the 1,000 Beast Sect. Everyone looked at Yi Hao's confident figure, and their eyes flashed with admiration. Those who didn't know would think that Yi Hao was the 1,000 Beast Sect's young lord. There were hundreds of thousands of people present, and none of them didn't want to break their heads to enter the 1,000 Beast Sect. Yi Hao, on the other hand, didn't even give face to the elder. Is this kid really just the emperor of a duchy? Why does he look like the emperor of a dynasty? Mayor Song was sweating profusely for Yi Hao. He didn't know where Yi Hao got the capital to be so arrogant. In his eyes, not to mention the emperor of the duchy, even the nearby spirit kingdoms had to pay tribute to the 1,000 Beast Sect every year. Even the emperor of the spirit kingdom would not dare to be so arrogant in front of Elder Li and the others. He had to be careful. According to Xie Chunyu, Yi Hao was just the emperor of a duchy. He was starting to wonder if Xie Chunyu had made a mistake. At this moment, Xie Chunyu was also standing in the corner. She looked at Yi Hao, who had attracted everyone's attention. She was extremely curious. What other secrets does he have? It seems like I have to hold on to him tightly to get him to help me take revenge. Although Xie Chunyu didn't know Yi Hao well, she knew that Yi Hao wasn't the kind of idiot who didn't have a trump card and was just relying on his brain. Xie Chunyu had already noticed Yi Hao's bravery and resourcefulness the other day, when Yi Hao had executed the officials by dismembering them as a warning to others. Otherwise, she wouldn't have thought of controlling Yi Hao. It was because she was interested in Yi Hao's intelligence. But now, she realized how ridiculous her thoughts were. Some people weren't easy to control. Sometimes, things would go in the opposite direction. Just like the way she spoke to Yi Hao just now, it had caused Yi Hao to be disgusted. If she wanted to control Yi Hao, it would be even more impossible. She finally understood why her father always said that the more mysterious a person was, the scarier they were. If Yi Hao was really that easy to control, Xie Chunyu would have doubted if her choice was right. But now, it seemed like everything was progressing in a good direction. At the very least, there was already friction between Yi Hao and Elderly. What he needed to do was to make this friction even more intense, so much so that it would ignite a raging fire that would burn down the Thousand Beasts sect. As for how big this fire would be, it would depend on Yi Hao's trump card and how rich it was. Looking at Yi Hao's back, Xie Chunyu smiled as she led Yi Hao into the crowd. What she wanted was for Yi Hao to win first place in the beast appraisal competition. And the source of her confidence came from Master Shui. With that 40% chance, as long as Yi Hao had Master Shui's help, it was guaranteed that Yi Hao would surpass all obstacles and smoothly reach the end. At that time, as long as Master Shui admitted defeat, Yi Hao would be first place. By then, even the elders wouldn't be able to change the outcome. Even if Yi Hao didn't give them face, they couldn't go back on their words in public. That would be slapping the Thousand Beast sect's face in public. By then, no matter how unwilling the three elders were, they would have no choice but to let Yi Hao enter the Thousand Beast sect. As long as Yi Hao entered the Thousand Beast sect, half of her plan would be completed. Xie Chunyu's plan was perfect. Unfortunately, she still didn't know that Master Shui had been bribed and wouldn't listen to her at all. Yi Hao walked into the arena. Looking at the millions of magical beast eggs, he was secretly shocked. At the same time, he was envious. If only he could bring all of these back to Yanlong, there would be enough to equip all of his soldiers. Then, Yi Hao used his probing skill. Ding dong, congratulations. You have detected a rank 1 magical beast, Black Snake Dead Egg. Ding dong, congratulations. You have detected a rank 1 rank 7 magical beast, 100 Lion, Dead Egg. F*CK me, this can't be. This is too much of a scam. No wonder they say this is a gamble. After probing dozens of times, the system kept telling him that all of the eggs were dead. Yi Hao was secretly glad that he had the probing skill. Otherwise, with so many eggs, who knew which one was alive? Yi Hao couldn't help but feel impressed when he saw the eggs being identified as alive from time to time. Aside from the difference in size, these eggs basically looked the same. Look at that miserable face of his. One look, and I know he doesn't know how to appraise beasts. He's even here to embarrass himself. Guo Engrui couldn't help but mock Yi Hao. Chapter 185. Kid, do you even know how to appraise beasts? If you don't, just give up. That's right. Although appraising beasts relies on luck, it also relies on true ability. Most people didn't think highly of Yi Hao. Because Yi Hao had angered Elderly, many people wanted to curry favor with Elderly. When they saw Yi Hao looking around as if he was shopping, they all mocked him. This was also because Yi Hao's detection skills were too powerful. These magical beast eggs were all low-level magical beasts. Yi Hao only needed to look at them to know if they were alive or dead. Others, on the other hand, would spend half a day observing each egg, where they would collect all the magical beast eggs that they thought were alive. Then, they would compare the eggs and carefully select the ones that were alive. Yi Hao's performance was just looking around casually in front of a pile of magical beast eggs. He didn't even stop to appraise them. It's all thanks to Mrs. Arrangements. Looks like this Yi Hao really doesn't know how to appraise beasts. Seeing Yi Hao walking around casually, he didn't look like a beast appraiser at all. It was obvious that he didn't take beast appraising seriously. Although beast appraising relied on luck. If one didn't have true ability and wanted to rely on luck, unless one was extremely lucky and was blessed by the heavens, The probability of picking out a living egg from hundreds of magical beast eggs was terrifyingly low. Moreover, because Yi Hao came with 10,000 people, most of the living eggs had been picked out. The probability of the remaining eggs was even lower. Haha, so this kid really wants to rely on luck. This is hilarious. If he can appraise a magical beast, I'll let him eat it raw. Gua Ingrui mocked loudly. As if afraid that Yi Hao couldn't hear him, Gua Ingrui purposely used martial arts to amplify his voice so that it could spread throughout the square. When Yi Hao heard Gua Ingrui's voice, he was stunned. He didn't expect Gua Ingrui to have such a hobby. Then, he turned around and picked up a magical beast egg that was half a meter long. He looked in Gua Ingrui's direction and smiled slightly. On the contrary, it caused Gua Ingrui to laugh even more wildly. Kid, don't tell me you think that the bigger the magic beast egg, the better the magic beast. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. Looks like I overestimated this brat. Bai Qingshang shook his head with a wry smile. Putting aside the fact that Yi Hao was so young, even if he was appraising beasts now, he wouldn't dare to casually choose beasts like Yi Hao did. After all, this was an experience that came from thousands of experiments. If he wasn't careful, he might be able to identify a dead egg. It wasn't that he couldn't make the same choice as Yi Hao, but he would have to bear some risks. If he didn't want to take any risks, he had to make his own observations. Elderly, you can do whatever you want with this kid. I won't interfere anymore. Through Yi Hao's actions, Bai Qingshang could tell that Yi Hao knew nothing about beast appraising. Otherwise, Yi Hao was just being bold. But was that even possible? How young was Yi Hao? Unless Yi Hao was a genius in beast appraising. No, I want to see what this brat can identify. Hearing the telepathic message in his mind, Elderly glared at Yi Hao furiously. Killing Yi Hao now wouldn't be enough to appease the anger in his heart. He wanted to humiliate Yi Hao in front of everyone. Only then would he make a move. Only then would he be able to quench the rage in his heart. Elderly, are you really not going to make a move? If this brat identifies the magic beast, you won't be able to make a move so easily. They didn't hide their telepathic message from Elder One. Elder One had also received benefits from the Gua family. If Elderly did not make a move, he himself would have made a move to kill Yi Hao. However, Bai Qingshang's words had caused him to be cautious. Now that Elderly had stepped forward, he was naturally willing to step aside and observe the situation. Elder Wan's words made Elderly ponder. Then, he looked at Yi Hao and shook his head, saying contemptuously, I don't believe that he can identify a magic beast egg with just a glance. This brat has no chance of advancing. As he spoke, Elderly clenched his fists tightly. Bai Qingshang said softly, That's good too. I like to see what other tricks this brat has up his sleeves. Hey bro, what are the rules of the competition? Yi Hao had already picked out a magic beast egg, but the system's notifications still hadn't sounded, indicating that his mission was incomplete. Yi Hao walked up to a middle-aged man who was lying beside a magic beast egg and carefully observing it. The middle-aged man frowned for a moment, then went wild with joy in the next moment. When Yi Hao saw this scene, he immediately used appraisal. Ding dong, peak rank 3, white feather tiger dead egg. Yi Hao finally understood why the middle-aged man was so infatuated with this egg. It was because this egg was considered the best out of the millions of magic beast eggs. Unfortunately, this magic beast egg was dead. There's no need to look. This is a dead egg. Seeing that the middle-aged man didn't seem to notice him, Yi Hao said softly, Who are you? Why do you have to say that this is a dead egg? Don't tell me you want to snatch my magic beast egg? The middle-aged man was instantly enraged by Yi Hao's words. No one wanted to have their choice of magic beast egg criticized by others. Following which, the middle-aged man hugged the magic beast egg with a cautious expression, as if he was afraid that Yi Hao would snatch it away from him. Then he saw Yi Hao's young appearance and immediately showed an impatient expression. Go away. Where did this brat come from? When I was appraising magic beasts, you were still nowhere. In my opinion, this is definitely a rank 3 magic beast egg. It's very likely that it's a living egg. Alright, don't get so worked up. I just want to know the rules of the competition. Yihao was speechless when he saw the middle-aged man hugging the magic beast egg so tightly. However, everyone else was appraising magic beasts. As long as the middle-aged man paid attention to him, Yihao had no choice but to continue asking. Don't tell me you're Xiahao. The middle-aged man finally let down his guard. He believed that no one would dare to snatch his egg in public in this competition venue. He could only blame himself for being so excited because it was his first time appraising such a good egg. This time, it was Yihao's turn to be stunned. Inside the competition venue, he had no idea what was happening outside. How did this middle-aged man recognize him? How did you know? The middle-aged man looked at Yihao and rolled his eyes. There was a hint of admiration in his voice as he said, "Kid, I have to hand it to you. You even dare to be late for the 1,000 Beast Sex Beast Appraisal Competition. You must be the only one who dares to be late. Otherwise, why don't you know the rules when everyone else knows?" Ugh. Yihao didn't expect this middle-aged man to be so good at analyzing things. The rules of the competition are to choose 2 magic beast eggs. As long as one of them is alive, you'll advance to the next round. It's that simple. Yihao nodded in disbelief because he didn't find it difficult at all. Chapter 186. What? That's easy? The middle-aged man was enraged by Yihao's words. He roared, attracting the attention of many people. Then, he lowered his head and began to pick the eggs. Isn't that easy? Yihao asked in surprise. The middle-aged man looked at the egg in Yihao's arms and pursed his lips. He couldn't even be bothered to look at an egg like this. He couldn't believe that Yihao would pick one like this. The middle-aged man quickly waved his hand and said, "Go play by yourself. Don't disturb me while I'm picking." In the middle-aged man's eyes, Yihao was just a good-for-nothing rich kid who came here to join in the fun. He wasn't here to appraise beasts at all. But let me remind you, you better appraise beasts well. As long as the egg is still alive, that egg will belong to you. Even if you don't enter the Wansho sect, it's still a good reward. The middle-aged man reminded him as soon as he lowered his head. Thank you. Yihao didn't expect the middle-aged man to remind him. It seemed that this man had a good character. Yihao looked at the egg in the middle-aged man's arms as if it was a treasure. Yihao couldn't bear to see him fail to advance, so he reminded him, "If I were you, I wouldn't choose the egg in your arms. If I were you, I would choose the one beside it." The middle-aged man waved his hand, unwilling to entertain Yihao. He had seen the egg beside it before. It was not as good as the one in his arms. Yihao waved his hand helplessly. He didn't like to owe others. The middle-aged man told him about the competition and kindly reminded him. As a form of repayment, Yihao reminded him. As for whether the middle-aged man believed him or not, it was none of his business. "Little brother, you must be Prince Xiahao." Just as Yihao was about to randomly choose an egg, a man in a black robe walked up to Yihao and asked with a smile. "Yes." Yihao turned to the man and asked, "May I know who you are?" "You still don't know?" The man was confused, but he immediately explained with a smile. "Perhaps City Lord Song didn't have time to tell you. I was sent by City Lord Song to help you. My name is Ji." "Oh, help me?" Yihao turned his head and looked in the direction of the VIP seats. City Lord Song nodded slightly. It seemed that what Ji said was true. "These are the 2 magic beast eggs I picked out. I can't say that they're 100% alive, but at least 80%. Ji took out 2 magic beast eggs that looked pretty good and handed them to Yihao. Hearing Ji's confidence, Yihao was curious. He immediately used probing, and the answer he received made his expression turn awkward. Yihao looked at the smiling Ji, not knowing what to say. Seeing Yihao's sour expression, although Ji forced a smile, he was still worried that Yihao would find out. Fortunately, he was prepared. He immediately took out another 2 magic beast eggs and handed them to Yihao reluctantly. "Young Master Xia, you trust me, right? Then I'll give these 2 magic beast eggs to you. Young Master Xia, you won't suspect that the magic beast eggs I picked out for myself are fake, right? These are rank 3 magic beast eggs, and I was planning to use them for myself." Yihao used probing again and realized that these 2 pills were fake as well. Yihao was furious. What were City Lord Song and Song Shanshan doing? Did they know that he didn't know how to appraise beasts, so they purposely found someone who didn't know anything to mess with him? Master Shui, why are you here? The middle-aged man who was lying on the ground, studying his magic beast egg, accidentally noticed Shui. He asked in surprise, Master Shui, can you help me take a look at this magic beast egg of mine? The middle-aged man wasn't sure about his magic beast egg either. Now that he finally saw a master beast appraiser, he didn't even bother asking. All right, I'll take a look at it for you. Shui didn't want to bother with the middle-aged man at first, but now that he saw that Yihao didn't seem to trust him, he wanted to show off his skills to convince Yihao. Shui walked up to the magic beast egg and studied it for a long time. Then, he smiled and said, Congratulations. If I'm not mistaken, this is the egg of a rank 3 magic beast, a white feather tiger. If it grows up, it might even reach the level of a martial king. Really? The middle-aged man was delighted. At the same time, he looked at Yihao proudly. What he meant was, Kid, how dare you say that my egg isn't good? But Shuiji's words immediately made the middle-aged man's heart jump to his throat. What's wrong, Master Shui? The middle-aged man looked at the magic beast egg in his arms in shock. Then he looked at Yihao, thinking that it was impossible. How could Yihao tell that this was a dead egg with just one look? The middle-aged man pricked up his ears and listened intently to Shuiji's words. There's only a 50% chance that this magic beast egg is alive, but it's worth a gamble. Shuiji didn't dare to boast, so he spoke the truth. After all, he had a high probability of guessing the eggs of rank 1 and 2 magic beasts. But he wasn't so confident about guessing the eggs of a rank 3 magic beast. That's good. The middle-aged man breathed a sigh of relief. Although there was only a 50% chance, it was still better than being told by Yihao that it was a dead egg. Moreover, he really should take a gamble. A rank 3 magic beast was something that could only be found by chance. If he won the bet, then he would be rich. As for the top 10, the chances were very slim for him. Yihao stood behind Shuiji with a slight frown on his face. He initially thought that Shuiji knew nothing about beast appraising, but the fact that Shuiji was able to name a magical beast egg proved that he was truly knowledgeable. If it weren't for his appraisal skill, he wouldn't have been able to tell what kind of magic beast egg this was. When these magic beast eggs were born, the mother's body would produce some strange mucus that would wrap around the outside of the eggs. Hence, other than the size, these magic beast eggs were almost identical. But this Shuiji could tell that this was a white feather tiger's egg just by observing it. This meant that Shuiji had real skills. Moreover, Shuiji was only 50% confident about this magic beast egg. He didn't say that it was a living egg, nor did he say that it was a dead egg. This meant that Shuiji was a reliable person. As for the fact that he couldn't tell if it was a living egg, it could only mean that Shuiji's skills weren't that good. After all, no matter how good one's eyes were or how powerful one's skills were, it was impossible to tell if an egg was alive or not. If Shuiji could tell at a glance whether a magic beast egg was obtained or not, then it could only mean that Shuiji was too nature-defying. Yihao would suspect that Shuiji had a system. However, Shuiji could clearly identify the type of rank 3 magic beast egg. So why did he say that the 2 eggs he gave him were rank 3 magic beast eggs? They were clearly the lowest level magic beast eggs. There's definitely something fishy going on here. Yihao initially guessed that Xie Chunyu had deliberately hired someone to humiliate him. But now, it seemed like that wasn't the case. If she wanted to find someone, she didn't have to find an expert. She could have just found an old man with a magic beast egg to deceive him. An old man would definitely be more convincing than Shuiji since he didn't know him anyway. Moreover, Yihao analyzed it carefully. Humiliating him wouldn't benefit Xie Chunyu at all. It would only worsen their relationship, so there was no need for Xie Chunyu to do this. Chapter 187. Yihao thought about it carefully. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that someone else must have interfered with this. But who? Yihao turned around slightly. When he saw Gua Ingrui's gloating expression, he more or less understood the situation. Young Master Xia, you should believe me now. Don't worry, I guarantee that these magical beast eggs are all alive, Shueji said as he stood up, noticing that no one had turned to look at him. What? The middle-aged man rubbed his ears and looked at Yi Hao in astonishment. Little brother, it can't be. You don't even want the magic beast eggs that Grandmaster Shui identified? If Grandmaster Shui can guarantee that these magic beast eggs are alive, then they're definitely alive. Yi Hao didn't expect Master Shui to be so famous that he still had a die-hard fan. If it weren't for his heaven-defying detection skill, he might have really believed Master Shueji. Yi Hao smiled politely. So, it was City Lord Song who sent you here to help me. Why wouldn't I believe you? Yi Hao pretended to be conflicted as he looked at the 4 eggs, unsure of which to choose. Shueji sneered inwardly at this, knowing that Yi Hao was about to fall for his trick. In order to make Yi Hao choose quickly, Shueji pretended to be in a difficult position and said, Young Master Xia, these are all good eggs. I really can't bear to give them to you. Why don't I pick 2 first? Having said that, Shueji casually picked up 2 eggs. Yi Hao couldn't help but be impressed by Shueji's acting talent. However, in order to put on an act, Yi Hao immediately snatched the 2 eggs from Shueji's arms. No, these 2 are mine. Yi Hao looked like a monkey in a hurry. He hugged the 2 eggs and ran away. Shueji stood behind him, watching Yi Hao's anxious figure with a sneer on his lips. The middle-aged man looked at Yi Hao enviously. If only he could also get the 2 magic beast eggs that Master Shui had given him. Suddenly, the middle-aged man picked up one of the magic beast eggs and asked Shueji, Master Shui, can you help me take a look at this magic beast egg? Shueji glanced at him impatiently, thinking, do you really think I'm a free beast appraiser? If it weren't for Yi Hao's trust, I wouldn't have bothered with you. Shueji looked at the egg in the middle-aged man's hand. It didn't look too good, so he lost his interest. The middle-aged man didn't mind Shueji's tone. After all, he was a master beast appraiser. Upon hearing Shueji's words, the middle-aged man immediately tossed the low-grade magical beast egg aside. He was now even more certain that Yi Hao was lying to him because this was the magical beast egg Yi Hao was talking about. Your eggs. Seeing that Shueji didn't look back, the middle-aged man's face showed a look of ecstasy. He immediately held the 2 eggs in his arms. After struggling for a long time, he chose one of them and hid the other one in the mountain of eggs. He already had one, so he could only choose one more. But he didn't want to let others get it so easily. The middle-aged man left happily with the 2 eggs in his arms. As for the egg that Yi Hao said wasn't bad, it was left alone in the pile. Soon, a young man walked over with a gloomy expression. The more I said I didn't want to join the Thousand Beasts sect, the more I said I didn't want to join. That damned old man of mine insisted that I participate in the competition. What should I do if I get into the top 10? If anyone else heard this, they would have beaten him to death. Everyone else was racking their brains to join the Thousand Beasts sect, but this guy was thinking about how to get eliminated. I Ching was very depressed. Her sister was in the Thousand Beasts sect. If she entered the Thousand Beasts sect, wouldn't she be tortured by her sister again? It wasn't easy for her to be free for 2 years. She didn't want to fall into the hands of that violent sister again. According to his character, he would have just given up. But his father knew his character very well and warned him 100 times. If he dared to give up, he would be kicked out of the house and left on the streets. This egg isn't bad. I Ching wandered around the competition venue, thinking about how to not advance. Suddenly, she saw the lonely magic beast egg on the ground. I Ching quickly walked to it. I Ching squatted down and picked up the egg. The more she looked at it, the happier she was. Although I don't know much about eggs, I know that the worse the condition of the egg, the higher the chance of it being a dead egg. I Ching's eyes lit up. She finally had a way to not advance. She was afraid that she would pick a living egg, but the egg in her heart gave her an idea. As long as she picked 2 eggs in bad condition, the chances of it being a living egg would be greatly reduced. I Ching looked like she had found a treasure. She hugged the egg in her arms and prepared to find another one. Yi Hao hugged the 2 eggs and walked to a corner where no one was around. He threw the 2 dead eggs to the side. Yihao originally wanted to casually pick another magical beast egg, but he suddenly changed his mind. He found that everyone had their heads lowered, carefully observing the magical beast eggs in their hands, and there were some places that couldn't be seen from the VIP seats. As for the audience, they could only see the beast appraisers stand, but not the competition area. Although these eggs were all low-rank eggs, they were still worth thousands of gold coins. If he wanted to equip his troops with these eggs, he would need a huge sum of money that he couldn't possibly come up with in a short period of time. Among the millions of eggs, there were at least tens of thousands of living eggs. If he were to take all of them away, he would be saving himself a lot of money. Yihao's lips curled into a sly smile. He couldn't stand elderly anyway, so he might as well take some of their eggs as compensation. If other people were to find the 1% of living eggs among these millions of eggs, it would undoubtedly be a huge undertaking. But to Yihao, all he had to do was take a quick glance. Yihao took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to place all the living eggs into the system space. His movements were very fast, and the others were all lowering their heads to study. Even if some magical beast eggs were missing, no one would notice at all. He didn't care if it was a Class 1 magical beast or a Class 3 magical beast. As long as it was a living egg, he threw it all into the system space. There were even a few Class 4 magical beast eggs, which surprised him. Looks like it's really difficult to identify these eggs. Otherwise, the Thousand Beast sect wouldn't have missed out on a few rank 4 eggs. Yihao's actions undoubtedly made things worse for the participants. Most of them were just trying their luck. That 1% chance was already pitifully small. Now that Yihao had stolen all the living eggs, those who could advance to the next round were undoubtedly the most capable. For more than an hour, Yihao had stolen more than 5,000 eggs. Even if he sold them all for gold coins, it would still be a huge sum of money. Chapter 188. Everyone knew how precious demonic beasts were, but very few people would think of popularizing demonic beasts in the army. This was because a small number of demonic beasts wouldn't be of much use, even if they were placed in the army. And if every soldier had a demonic beast, the price would be too high for many countries to bear. After all, if a soldier was paired with a demonic beast of the same level, their combat strength wouldn't be as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Little ball, keep an eye out for me. Inform me immediately if anyone approaches me. Yihao said to Dragon Prison Lake's weapon spirit as he observed others while stealing demonic beast eggs. It was too slow. Don't worry. Dragon Prison Lake's weapon spirit released a trace of spiritual consciousness and covered Yihao's body. As for the giant dragon, it had already fallen into a deep slumber. Yihao was secretly envious of the giant dragon. Just by sleeping, it could raise its cultivation level. Now that the giant dragon's cultivation level had risen to rank 1 martial honor, all it had to do was sleep, and it could rise from martial spirit to rank 1 martial honor. There was no need for it to cultivate. In fact, this was also because the giant dragon's cultivation level was already at martial saint level. However, due to its severe injuries, its cultivation level fell instantly. Although its injuries had healed, its cultivation level still needed time to recover. However, it was much easier than cultivating in the past. All it had to do was close its eyes and sleep, and its cultivation level would slowly recover. Pick up eggs. Pick up 1 or 2 eggs. Yihao's eyes kept glancing at the mountain of demonic beast eggs. Not a single living egg was left behind. It was like plucking feathers from a wild goose. He couldn't help but hum happily. The competition has ended. All remaining contestants, please gather at the beast appraisal booth. Otherwise, the competition will be considered a failure. Another half a day passed. Yihao was the last to enter the competition area. Most of the contestants who had entered earlier had already reached their results. Meanwhile, Yihao was still strolling around the competition area. There were less than 100 contestants left in the competition area. Hearing the voice in the air, Yihao had no choice but to stop in his tracks. He had basically placed all the demonic beast eggs he could find into his space. Now, he was regretting not joining the competition earlier so that he could steal more eggs. Just like that, more than 20,000 demonic beast eggs appeared in his space. These were all living demonic beast eggs. Not a single one of them was dead. Among them, there were more than 10,000 Tier 1 magical beast eggs. There were over 8,000 Class 2 magical beast eggs, less than 2,000 Class 3 magical beast eggs, over 100 Class 4 magical beast eggs, and 2 Class 5 magical beast eggs. One had to know that a level 5 magical beast egg corresponded to a human's martial spirit realm. In other words, Yihao had 2 more martial spirit realm helpers for no reason. Sometimes, using a magical beast was even more convenient than using a martial artist. In fact, Yihao should have been done a long time ago. Just these few piles of magical beast mountain, he had gone back and forth no less than 3 times, just in case he had missed any eggs. Yihao also didn't want to attract the attention of the Thousand Beast sect. After all, he had stolen over 20,000 of their living eggs. If they found out, they would definitely jump out and hunt him down. For safety's sake, Yihao only took the large egg he had picked at the beginning. Then, he randomly picked another egg from the pile of eggs and headed to the Beast Appraiser's seat. When Yihao arrived at the Beast Appraiser's seat, he instantly attracted everyone's attention. Many of them were here to see if Yihao could pick a magical beast egg. Yihao looked around the Beast Appraiser's seat, but didn't see Xueji. It seemed like the competition had ended. At this moment, there were less than 100 contestants left on the stage. To Yihao's surprise, the middle-aged man from the beginning was standing not too far away from him. Yihao looked at the 2 magical beast eggs in the middle-aged man's arms and smiled bitterly. Naturally, he could recognize those 2 eggs at first glance. One of them was the dead egg of the white feather tiger, while the other was the dead egg that Xueji used to trick him. Now, the middle-aged man was holding them in his arms like they were precious treasures. Yihao inadvertently noticed a young man in front of him hugging 2 magical beast eggs and praying. He looked like a student about to enter an exam hall. Yihao couldn't help but sigh as if he was reminded of his own school days. "Hey, brother, you don't have to go that far, do you? Isn't it just a competition?" Yihao patted I Ching's shoulder with a smile. "What do you mean, don't have to go that far? This concerns my future." I Ching was a natural socializer. She didn't care if he knew Yihao or not, so she put on a long face and said exaggeratedly, "Don't tell me your family forced you to come here?" Yihao looked at the young man's clothes and guessed that he was from a wealthy family. "Brother, you're too smart. Don't tell me you're the same." I Ching looked at Yihao as if they were in the same boat. Yihao sighed internally. No matter which world he was in, parents would always worry about their children the most. Yihao couldn't help but think of Yi Batian. Clenching his fists, he said, "Father, I will rescue you personally and seek justice for you. Also, I wonder how Mo is doing." In Yihao's eyes, this I Ching must be a filial child. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so nervous. Thinking of this, Yihao couldn't help but want to help her. However, when Yihao saw the magical beast egg in I Ching's arms, he was stunned. Could it be that he's also well-versed in beast appraising? Otherwise, no normal person would choose this egg unless they're an idiot. Yihao recognized this magical beast egg at first glance. It was the egg he had recommended to the middle-aged man. Because this magical beast egg wasn't in good condition and there were even some moldy spots on it, one wouldn't choose this egg unless they had a certain level of foundation in beast appraising. Although this magical beast egg wasn't in good condition, it was indeed a rank 3-peak magical beast. If it weren't for the middle-aged man, Yihao would have kept this magical beast egg. What surprised him was that this magical beast egg was in I Ching's hands. This I Ching didn't look much older than him. Could it be that one really shouldn't judge a book by its cover? Yihao hurriedly used a probing spell on the other magical beast egg in I Ching's hands. In the end, when Yihao saw the exterior of this magical beast egg, it was in worse condition than the previous one. Even Yihao didn't have high hopes for this magical beast egg. In the end, the system's information made Yihao sigh. Although it was only a rank 1 magical beast, it was still a living egg. What an expert! Yi Hao looked at I Ching in shock. Others would choose eggs in good condition because they had a higher chance of being a living egg. However, this I Ching had chosen eggs in bad condition, and all of them were living eggs. Even some masters wouldn't dare to do this. Seeing I Ching's nervous expression, Yi Hao hurriedly consoled her. "Brother, don't worry. You must trust your own judgment." I Ching looked at the 2 magical beast eggs in her arms and nodded deeply. She thought to herself, these 2 magical beast eggs are in bad condition. They're definitely not living eggs. Otherwise, the heavens would want me dead. Chapter 189. Yi Hao took a long look at I Ching. So there were still hidden geniuses in this world. With just a glance, he knew that his magical beast egg was not as good as his. Yi Hao knew the condition of his 2 eggs. One was a dead egg, while the other was only a rank 2 egg. Indeed, they couldn't compare to I Ching's egg. "Hey, move aside. I'll show you what beast appraising is." Just as Yi Hao was about to continue his discussion with I Ching, the middle-aged man's arrogant voice came from the front, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Noticing everyone's gazes, the middle-aged man couldn't help but puff out his chest even more. He was full of confidence in his egg. This egg looks pretty good. There's a high chance that it's still alive. Looks like this person has a high chance of advancing. Attracted by the middle-aged man's voice, many people shifted their gazes to the white feather tiger egg and expressed their opinions. Hearing the crowd's discussion, the middle-aged man was even more satisfied. To better express himself, he said in disdain, "This is the egg of a peak rank 3 spirit beast, a white feather tiger. The chances of it being alive are very high." Hearing the middle-aged man's words, many people looked at him with admiration and started discussing again. So he's an expert beast appraiser. Since he knows the breed of the egg, the chances of failure are much lower. I'm so envious. There were less than 20 people who identified a rank 3 demonic beast today, and now there's another one. Hearing the middle-aged man easily identify the demonic beast's breed, the elders of the Thousand Beasts sect looked over curiously. A soldier handed the middle-aged man a purplish-red jade token. The middle-aged man took the jade token, pricked his finger, and squeezed out a drop of blood onto the token. Then, he quickly placed the token on top of the demonic beast egg. The jade token emitted a golden glow that enveloped the demonic beast egg. The image of a white tiger appeared on the egg. It really is a peak rank 3 spirit beast, a white feather tiger. Seeing the image on the demonic beast egg, many people shouted excitedly. Even the middle-aged man was so excited that his heart almost jumped out of his throat. The middle-aged man had already seen Yi Hao. He turned around and gave Yi Hao a proud smile. Yi Hao didn't say anything. He just pouted and gestured for the middle-aged man to look at the magical beast egg. The middle-aged man sneered disdainfully. When he turned around, he was stunned. In the Myriad Kingdom continent, there were 2 ways to contract a magical beast egg. One way was to contract it directly on a magical beast egg, and the other way was to use the purple-red jade token. Like the first way, the magical beast could not be transferred. Over time, the first way disappeared. The second method was to use the jade token contract, which didn't have so many restrictions. On the contrary, it was easier to use. The manufacturing of the purple-red jade token was very simple, and the price was very cheap. The method to use it only required the first drop of blood on the jade token. Furthermore, even if he didn't want this magical beast, he could just erase his aura from the jade token and hand it over to someone else. If the contract was successful, the shadow on the magic beast egg would enter the purple-red medium jade card, and the magic beast egg would hatch automatically. If the magic beast egg was dead, the jade card would not react, and the shadow would not appear on the magic beast egg. As long as the shadow appeared, the egg would basically hatch successfully. However, on the middle-aged man's magic beast egg, the shadow of the white feather tiger did not enter the jade token. Instead, it appeared very weak. Then, the shadow broke, and a magic beast egg also broke. The purple-red jade token fell to the ground again. How could this be? Seeing the magic beast egg break, the middle-aged man obviously couldn't accept the fact. He held his head and ran away. Suddenly, the middle-aged man looked at Yi Hao with hatred. His eyes were full of anger. "Boy, is it you? Did you do something? My white feather tiger. Get lost." Yi Hao kicked the middle-aged man who was rushing towards him. "Stop. Although this phenomenon is rare, it is not impossible. It can only be said that your luck is bad. God is playing a joke on you." Bai Qingshang looked at the middle-aged man with a pitiful look and coughed twice. When the middle-aged man heard Bai Qingshang's words, he didn't dare to mess around anymore. From Yi Hao's kick, he knew that he was not Yi Hao's opponent. He could only pin his hopes on another magic beast egg. "Wait, I still have a chance. I will succeed this time." The middle-aged man frantically placed Shui Ji's magic beast egg on the appraisal table and dripped another drop of blood on the purple-red jade token. However, this time, there was no reaction at all. The middle-aged man stared blankly at the magic beast egg in front of him, muttering impossible under his breath. These two magic beast eggs were appraised by Shui Ji. How could they be dead eggs? Seeing the middle-aged man's reaction, everyone was used to it. After all, this was a roller coaster ride. If the white feather tiger really hatched, the middle-aged man's status would be extraordinary. There were less than 20 people who appraised rank 3 magic beasts today. If the middle-aged man's appraisal was successful, his chances of entering the 1,000 Beast sect would be reduced to half. Who knew that God was playing with him? The respect and admiration in this world was reserved for the strong and the successful. Previously, when they saw the middle-aged man's expression, many people spoke to him in a flattering tone. Now, only a few people had pity in their eyes. Instead, most of them were looking at him with mockery. Looking at the middle-aged man's reaction, Yi Hao shook his head slightly. This was all his own fault. Yi Hao had already advised him, but the middle-aged man refused to listen. In the end, he almost blamed everything on Yi Hao. What a joke. Yi Hao had no pity for people like this. If there was anyone to blame, the middle-aged man could only blame himself. I Ching looked at the middle-aged man enviously. She cried out excitedly, "Damn, he's too lucky." I Ching's excited voice immediately attracted a round of eye rolls. They thought I Ching was adding insult to injury. I Ching listened to the discussions around her. She pursed her lips and muttered softly, "What do you know? I wish those 2 eggs were mine. That way, I can report back to my superiors." Regarding I Ching's reaction, Yi Hao did not find it strange. After all, everyone had their own personality. He only thought that I Ching was too young and impetuous. She did not think before speaking. Who wouldn't know that I Ching was really envious of the middle-aged man? "Brother, why don't you go in front of me? I'm a little nervous." Seeing that it was almost her turn, I Ching was embarrassed and asked Yi Hao. "Okay." Yi Hao nodded. It was the same standing there. He already knew the result. Chapter 190. At first, Yi Hao was only after the 100,000 experience points. But now, he had no choice but to join the 1,000 Beast sect to investigate the cause of Xie Chunyu's father's death. Hence, he had to change his plans. He knew that he came out to search for a holy pill to restore the Nangong Wentian's mental state. More importantly, he needed to improve his cultivation. Initially, he had no intention of joining the 1,000 Beast sect. But now that he wanted to investigate the cause of Xie Chunyu's father's death, he had no choice but to join the 1,000 Beast sect. Initially, he wanted to simply pick 2 dead eggs to complete his mission. But now, it seemed like that wasn't going to work. Moreover, Gua Yingrui had long been an eyesore. How dare he provoke him by saying that he would eat the demonic beasts as long as he appraised them? Yi had in mind watching Gua Yingrui suffer. Yi Hao already knew the outcome. He didn't have much anticipation and placed the 2 demonic beast eggs on the evaluation table. The guard handed him a purplish-red jade token. He squeezed a drop of blood onto the token. As expected, the first demonic beast egg was a dead egg. "Kid, I thought you were capable. Turns out you can only pick a few dead eggs." Gua Yingrui already knew this outcome. After all, Master Shui had already been bribed. In his eyes, these two demonic beast eggs were definitely dead eggs. Kid, if your next egg is also a dead egg, don't blame me for being rude. Elder Li's eyes carried a hint of joy. When he saw Gua Ingrue's expression, he knew that Gua Ingrue was up to something. What's going on? Xie Chunyu asked in confusion. She had changed into a servant's outfit and slipped to City Lord Song's side. City Lord Song was also surprised. He said in distress, "We might have been tricked by the Gua family. That Master Shwed disappeared after the competition. I thought he had something to do, but it seems like he doesn't dare to see me. That damn thing." Xie Chunyu clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. What should we do? If Yi Hao advances, Elderly won't be able to make a move easily. If Yi Hao fails, he will definitely be killed by Elderly. City Lord Song had no other choice and asked anxiously. I don't know either. Since the one surnamed Shue has been bribed, then the remaining one is definitely dead. Xie Chunyu shook her head angrily. Looking at Yi Hao, she suddenly made up her mind and said, if that Elderly makes a move, I will save him. But young miss, they're all revered martial artists. That Bai Qingshang is even a third-order revered martial artist. Mayor Song's eyes were incomparably solemn as he worriedly advised. There's no other way. When the time comes, Grandpa Song, take your family and run as far as you can. Don't ever come back. Xie Chunyu bit her lower lip and shook her head slightly, revealing the purple umbrella in her arms. All right, miss, you have to promise. City Lord Song thought hard for a moment. When he saw Xie Chunyu's determined expression, City Lord Song knew that no matter how he tried to persuade her, it would be useless. He could only nod his head heavily. Don't talk nonsense. I only want to ask you, are you serious? Yi Hao looked at Gua Ingrue with contempt and asked softly. Yi Hao's words stunned everyone. Gua Ingrue blurted out, what is it? If I appraise a magical beast and you eat it? Yi Hao deliberately said loudly, looking at Gua Ingrue with ridicule. Gua Ingrue saw that everyone's gaze was on him. He couldn't help but sneer at Yi Hao. You can't be thinking that you can still appraise a living magical beast, right? Gua Ingrue was full of confidence in Yi Hao's 2 dead eggs. This was because he had faith in Master Shue's ability. Although he wasn't as good as their family's trump card, he was still considered outstanding. Yi Hao waved his hand and asked impatiently, I'm asking you, are you serious? Yes, but what if you can't appraise a magical beast? Gua Ingrue asked with a smile. Yi Hao curled his lips. If I can't appraise a magical beast, will you let me go? Yi Hao's self-awareness stunned everyone. Gua Ingrue smiled and said, that's true. As long as this egg is also dead, even Elderly won't let you go. Gua Ingrue knew that he wasn't Yi Hao's opponent, so he took Elderly along with him. Although Elderly was unhappy that Gua Ingrue used him as a shield, he also wanted to kill Yi Hao, so he didn't refute. He's right. You humiliated me, and you deserve to die 100 times. But I'll give you a chance. As long as you appraise a living magical beast, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, okay, I'm serious. As long as you appraise a magical beast, I'll directly swallow your magical beast. Gua Ingrue said with a smile. Gua Ingrue knew that he couldn't give in at this time. If he gave in now, he would lose all his dignity in Beast King City. Yi Hao didn't waste any time. He sneered and walked to the side of the magical beast egg. He picked up the purple-red jade token and dripped a drop of blood on it. Ding dong. The host's blood contains a trace of dragon's blood. The magical beast egg has mutated. Yi Hao was deeply surprised by the system's notification. He actually had dragon's blood in his body. It seemed that it had something to do with him eating raw dragon meat. But he didn't know if this mutation was good or bad. If it was bad, wouldn't he have no fate with a magical beast egg in the future? Yi Hao was worried. The blood entered the magical beast egg through the jade token. Because the magical beast had mutated, the magical beast egg didn't immediately project a projection. Instead, it looked ordinary, as if it had failed. Ha, Xia Hao, what else do you have to say? This is another dead egg. Seeing the appearance of the magical beast egg, Gua Ingrue already knew the answer. But seeing the result, he still let out a sigh of relief. One had to know that magic beasts came in different sizes. Even if he swallowed a small magic beast, he might not be able to do it. Even some normal magic beasts were bigger than humans. If he really had to swallow a magic beast, he might as well kill it. Kid, do you want to do it? Or, do you want me to do it? Elderly looked at Gua Ingrue with satisfaction, then stared at Yi Hao and asked, "Ha ha!" Yi Hao suddenly laughed loudly. "What are you laughing at?" Many people saw Yi Hao suddenly laugh. Elderly said disdainfully, "If you still want to play dumb at this time, it's too late. I'm laughing at you, a dignified elder of the Thousand Beasts sect. Don't even know this. Who told you that my magical beast egg is dead?" Yi Hao looked at Elderly mockingly and retorted rudely. "Humph." Elderly snorted coldly. He looked around and said loudly, "Everyone knows that if a magical beast egg is alive, there will be a projection during the contract. Your egg has no reaction at all. If it's not a dead egg, what is it?" Chapter 191. Elderly looked at Yi Hao mockingly and said with a smile, "Let's not talk about him. If your magical beast egg can produce a living magical beast, then I'll eat it with him." Elderly glanced at the unresponsive magical beast egg and pointed at Gua Ingrue. "Kid, don't tell me you're questioning Elder Li's words." Someone started to laugh and looked at Yi Hao mockingly. Yi Hao walked up to the magical beast egg. He was a little nervous. He could receive this magical beast egg because it had a strong will to live. But he wasn't sure what kind of magical beast the egg could produce. Yi Hao, under everyone's contemptuous gaze, reached out his hand and gently knocked on the shell of the magical beast egg. "Ha ha! I've never seen a contracted magical beast that needs help to break the shell." Ingrue mocked again. Even Mayor Song couldn't understand what Yi Hao was trying to do. Crack! Just as Elderly was about to make a move, a cracking sound was heard. A huge crack appeared on Yi Hao's magical beast egg, attracting everyone's attention. The smiles on Gua Ingrue and Elder Li's faces froze as they looked at Yi Hao's magical beast egg in disbelief. At this moment, the purple-red jade plate was emitting a dazzling purple-red light that enveloped the entire magical beast egg. No one could see the light inside. When Xie Chunyu and City Lord Song saw this scene, they immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Xie Chunyu quickly hid the purple umbrella that had already revealed its handle. Mayor Song couldn't help but praise. This Yi Hao is really not ordinary. No matter what magical beast he identifies, it will be promoted this time. Elderly can't make a move so easily. Elder Bai, will a magical beast egg have such a phenomenon? Elder Wan, who was standing next to Bai Qingshang, didn't look too good, but he still asked curiously. Bai Qingshang revealed a look of reminiscence and said, "I've seen it in the sect's records. Usually, only mutated magical beasts will have such a phenomenon, but what?" Elder Wan looked at Bai Qingshang's hesitant and puzzled face and asked, "But mutated magical beasts are something that can only be encountered by chance. Ordinary people would not be able to tell. Even I don't have that ability. So how can this Yi Hao be so sure that this magical beast egg will definitely hatch into a magical beast?" Bai Qingshang had been paying attention to the changes in Yi Hao's expression. Since Yi Hao dared to bet with Gua Ingrue, it meant that he was full of confidence in this magical beast egg. However, not everyone could be sure about the survival of the magical beast egg. For example, the magical beast egg just now did not change at all. If it was a normal person, they would have panicked. On the contrary, Yi Hao was full of confidence in the magical beast egg. Bai Qingshang looked at Yi Hao with a flicker of light in his eyes. Everyone knew that mutated magical beasts could only be encountered by chance. That was because mutated magical beasts were much stronger than magical beasts of the same level. Their price was also several times higher. However, no one could grasp the trick to identifying mutated magical beast eggs. Bai Qingshang was now suspecting that Yi Hao might have the trick to identify mutated magical beast eggs. But after giving it some thought, he felt that his idea was ridiculous. If there was such a method, it should have existed in the world of 10,000 kingdoms. How could it be on a young man like him? Roar! The purplish-red light disappeared, revealing a giant creature. A giant elephant that was almost 3 meters tall appeared in front of everyone. The giant elephant walked to Yi Hao's side and used its long trunk to touch Yi Hao's shoulder intimately. Yi Hao borrowed the strength of the giant elephant's trunk and instantly sat on top of the giant elephant. The purplish-red jade tag also fell into his hand. Yi Hao immediately kept the jade tag. Rank 2 magical beast, white elephant. Seeing the white elephant that Yi Hao was sitting on, someone immediately revealed the white elephant's name. I thought it was some high-level magical beast. So it's just a rank 2 magical beast. Guo Yingrui looked at the giant creature in front of him. Although he was a bit embarrassed, he still mocked it. Yi Hao sat on top of the giant elephant and looked down at Guo Yingrui with the eyes of superior and said, "General Guo, you don't need to know what magical beast this is. Eat it." Wait a minute. This is not an ordinary white elephant. Bai Qingshang knew that since it was a mutated magical beast, there would definitely be changes. After careful observation, Bai Qingshang quickly walked to the white elephant's side and looked at the white elephant's leg. There was a small piece of densely packed scale. This is? Bai Qingshang looked at the densely packed scale and instantly revealed a thoughtful expression. Bai Qingshang's fuss instantly aroused everyone's interest. They looked at the 4 thick, giant legs of the white elephant. Isn't it just some scales? What's there to fuss about? Elderly glanced at it and asked in dissatisfaction. Bai Qingshang looked at these tiny scales. His hesitation hadn't fully formed yet. It was extremely difficult for him to differentiate them. However, his heart told him that this was a mutated magical beast. It was absolutely rare. Bai Qingshang stood up and coughed twice. A smile appeared on his face again. "Little brother, I'll guarantee your entry into the 1,000 Beasts sect. How about you give me this white elephant? I'll find you a peak rank for magical beast. If not, I'll find you a rank 5 magical beast." Bai Qingshang looked at Yi Hao with a fawning tone and said nervously, "What? He actually wants to exchange a rank 5 magical beast for a white elephant? What's wrong with Elder Bai?" Elder Bai actually showed a fawning smile to him and directly guaranteed his entry into the 1,000 Beasts sect. What's so special about this white elephant? Isn't it just a few more strange scales than a normal white elephant? Seeing Bai Qingshang's fawning expression, hundreds of thousands of people were taken aback. Was this still the high and mighty elder of the 1,000 Beasts sect? How could he show a fawning smile to a young man? And the most important thing was that he wanted to exchange a rank 5 magical beast for a rank 2 white elephant. Was there something wrong with his brain? Moreover, his face was full of expectation, as if he was afraid that Yi Hao wouldn't agree. Everyone once again began to scrutinize Yi Hao. What kind of person was this? At first, he killed the overlord of the Beast King City, Guo Yingrui. Then, he challenged Elder Li of the 1,000 Beasts sect. Now, even Bai Qingshang, the leader, was showing a fawning smile to Yi Hao. "Little brother, hurry up and agree. That's a rank 5 magical beast. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You can directly get a rank 5 martial spirit magical beast and also join the 1,000 Beasts sect. What are you hesitating for?" Many people had already opened their mouths to shout for Yi Hao. However, more people looked at Yi Hao with eyes full of jealousy. City Lord Song and Xie Chunyu also looked at Yi Hao nervously. They were worried and expectant. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.